All right, I do believe we are live. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Break the Rules live stream. I am your host, Lev Polyakov, at LevPo on Twitter, and we have the one, the only Count Dankula, the mad lad himself, the OG, rolling something up here, I see. I don't know what the laws in Scotland are, but as we know one thing from Count Dankula, that doesn't mean shit. So, Count Dankula, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we have Giant Geo, Giovanni Pennacchietti, Average Centrist joining us for this episode. Thank you guys so much for being here. And Count Dankula, I guess I'll ask the usual stupid interview question of your origin story, how you came about, all that, just to start.
Well, I was bitten by a radioactive Nazi, and people probably know, but basically, short version. Girlfriend was always talking about how cute and adorable her pug was. I thought it would be funny to get the pug to Nazi salute and react happily whenever I said "gas the Jews," because I knew it would upset her greatly. Decided to video my exploits and posted it to YouTube. And then I got a knock on the door and the cops took me to prison. And then I went through a 2-year trial for causing gross offence.
And you are free, and now you're looking at various historical figures that you would qualify as being mad lads. And for those who do not watch the series yet, I don't know what you're doing, you're making a grave mistake. I think that all the kids who are right now in the Zoom classes should ditch those classes. They should get rid of this stupid idea of education that we have here, at least in the States. These teachers are all a bunch of, as Tim Dillon calls them, summer enthusiasts. They have no business teaching kids. I think that you should be the teacher, because you are probably one of the best historians on YouTube that I've ever seen as far as actually getting people interested in these subjects. So just why did you get into specifically in Mad Lads? What qualifies being a Mad Lad as well?
Well, the reason I started getting into Mad Lads is I sort of did like generic content. Like, see, after the arrest and everything, like I had no intention of like making a serious go of YouTube. Like, YouTube was just me and my friends fucking around making videos. And I think there was like 3 videos on the channel before I made Nazi Pug. And then after that, I made some more shitposty videos, but those were still just a bit of fun. And it was actually Sargon of Akkad and Alex Jones that says, "Oh no, you should actually try. You should actually try on YouTube. You're pretty funny. You're pretty funny." And I was like, "All right, okay." So
I bet that was surreal meeting Alex Jones. Like, what was that like?
Oh, like when I first got arrested, like I had my balls cut off. I was like really nervous about who I spoke to. Was really careful about who I interacted with online. But then when I got an email from fucking Alex Jones that wanted me to come on the show, I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm going to fucking do it, man. It's the magic meme man, Alex Jones. Like, fuck yeah!" So I went on and done his show, and then a couple years ago, I was in the States and I got to hang out with him, and he's I fucking love him. I don't give a fuck what anyone says, man. I fucking love him. He's funny as fuck. Just some of the shit that comes out of his mouth. He's accidentally funny, but he's still like aware that he's being funny.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but
There's layers to him, isn't there?
Oh, there's many layers. Like, you can't tell what's irony and what's real, and then he'll turn around and shoot you a little knowing look where he's kind of like, "I know what I just said is insane." Yeah,
you gotta love him, man.
And by the way, Ravage Centrist here is from the UK as well. I mean, right now, Scotland, Scotland is still part of the UK. I don't know do you think Scotland's going to remain part of the UK or go its own way at a certain point?
I don't know. It all depends on how much fuckery that the SNP managed to pull, because they're still at the stage of if anything good happens, it was the SNP. If anything bad happens, it was the Tories. So, it's an extremely convenient position to be in, where everything bad that happens, you can, essentially blame the Jews. Like, that's what the SNP do there. With feminists, it's men. With far right, it's the Jews. With the far left, it's the Jews.
Oh man, this is pretty much, by the way, my experience here on Break the Rules, because as you know, if you had to choose between getting a further left audience and a portion of a further right audience, obviously with the way things are online, it's going to be further right people who are going to comprise a lot of the chat, a lot of the people who gain interest in anything that's going to be slightly edgy. So me being somebody who is Jewish, not by religion, but, by genetically speaking, I end up getting the brunt of a lot of people's frustrations every single episode, but I've gotten so used to it by now. It's just like a gentle wind that goes on me. Like, the chat's probably just going to erupt just because I said that right now. But anyway, when it comes to... Well, you know what? I'm going to wait for Gio to get here because he should really be the one during the Jew conversation to be present here. But
the Jew conversation.
The Jew conversation, yes. But but before that, you said SNP Scotland. I'm not familiar with Scottish politics. What would you compare that to in the States as far as political party goes?
Oh, no, wait until you hear this right now. The SNP, the Scottish National Party, a nationalist party that believes that Scotland should be its own independent country, free of foreign rule. They're far left. They're a far left party. That's how fucked politics is over here, right? They go, we want an independent country, and then we want to be in the EU, which means that we would not be an independent country. And also, open the gates in absolute uncontrolled mass immigration.
So
they say that they're nationalists. They are not. So like, if you get guys, like you meet them out in public, like, if you're in any pub and you'll go, oh, do you vote for the SNP? Yeah, I'm Scottish nationalist. I'm a Scottish nationalist. Like, yeah, and it's like, all right, cool. How do you feel about like social welfare and uncontrolled mass immigration and joining the EU? They're like, fuck yeah, I love that stuff. You're not a fucking nationalist. I'm sorry, you're not.
Wait, so Alex Jones calls himself a throwback. Would you consider yourself to also be a throwback as well in comparison to a lot of people, even people who are your age today? As far do you know what I mean by throwback, right? Like somebody who's, like, for example, he did that Animaniacs theme song. I don't know if it's Animaniacs that was the first one who did, the one, like the countries of the world. There is something very freeing about that kind of humor. I don't find that to be that much in play today when it comes to a lot of comedy shows. So would you say that in that way you're a throwback?
There's still huge demand for it. And I wouldn't say it's so much of a throwback. I think it's making a comeback. It is becoming fashionable again. It is becoming very popular because the way that we see it is, see how the modern day, right wing is essentially the 90s left wing. Most people that are getting called right wing, in the 2021st year of our Lord, we're essentially what left wingers were in the 90s. Like, the people, your Bill Hicks, your George Carlins, all those type of stuff as well, where comedy was offensive. And yeah, there was a lot of spicy stuff in the 90s, but people just laughed and moved on because it was just comedy. In fact, most of the people that get pissed off about it was the old right-wing conservative boomers going like, you can't say fuck on stage, like those ones. But, it's completely shifted now. And the problem is comedy is always supposed to be anti-establishment. And at the moment, the whole woke ideology, left-wing stuff is the establishment. It is, it's like, see when you have like the government literally on their government buildings flying the LGBT and trans flags, you're the establishment, right? You're part of it. And whereas the right wing, etc., in the current day, like, we are the counterculture and we are the people that are speaking out against the establishment, because it's a case of, you can live your life whatever way you want, but just because my son played with a Barbie doll once, don't chop his penis off, please.
Literally, people just jump on it, don't they? It's really weird.
Oh, yeah.
Well, these things, they come in cycles, and you are also not the first person to have their dog do the Hitler salute. If you recall, Jackie, there was this black and white spotted Dalmatian dog back in Nazi Germany who did the salute, but that was offensive because it was offensive to the Fuhrer. So these things do come in waves as far as whether it's offensive for one reason or the other.
That's the famous one that everyone knows about, but there was actually one that was another case that was recently uncovered. Basically, you know how back in the day there was like SS stations all throughout Europe? Well, basically, whatever documents didn't get destroyed, they all got grabbed and archived, and there's like a team of people that translate all the documents and make them available for public record. And it turns out that there was another instance where it was a traveling vaudeville circus that was traveling and touring Germany back in the day, and they taught their monkeys to do the salute.
No way.
And obviously this was seen as greatly offensive to the Nazis. And I believe the end of the document said something along the lines of, "See to it that the creatures are destroyed."
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
So essentially,
poor monkey.
the Nazis lined up and shot circus monkeys.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's well, to be fair, compared to everything else they did, it's not really that bad.
So yeah, it's the least of it, yeah.
I mean, there was that whole idea that, the Nazis loved animals, Hitler was a vegetarian, so I guess that kind of takes that out of the window a bit. But when it comes to being, let's say, somebody who may potentially get arrested again, but now for offending Hitler, do you see that happening anytime in the future? Like, do you predict that there may be, just like these things come in waves, there may be like a rise of the ultra right at a certain point, like especially in Europe, because it feels like there's way more tension. I mean, not that in the United States there isn't, but as far as just the amount of succumbing to this ideology from the left, I really think it's going to hit the right, especially if the government starts to even more so restrict certain freedoms to such an extent that, I don't know, maybe there will be a far-right movement. What do you think?
Oh, there already is far-right movements, and they are growing. And this is the one thing that I'd like. See how we always say that. See, for people that are, the far left and all the Antifa and all the little, funny coloured hair student types and all that are like obsessed with the Nazis. For some reason, they don't do any of their homework into how the Nazis came to be, right? So, for example, if you look at the rise of Hitler, what was happening in Germany before Hitler, it was the Weimar Republic. Right, when you had a extreme far left ideology that was trying to control what everyone could do, couldn't say, and like massive restrictions, especially when it came to nationalism and love for yourself and love for your country, love for your nation, love for your people, because France and everybody else kind of wanted all of that gone after the First World War. And what ended up happening was the Weimar Republic took it too far, and it got so bad that eventually, might have heard of this, but did you know that quite a lot of Germany swung to the far right? Can you believe it? Yeah, turns out quite a lot of them. And then what happened as a result was there was the rise of this man called Adolf Hitler, and basically a lot of that you are seeing is now being echoed in the current year, because one thing that the far left says, we're fighting Nazis, we're fighting the far right, we're fighting the fascists, we're doing this, we're doing that. Now, despite everything that they are doing, it's still growing. And this is even with, complete banning of discussion or promotion of such ideas in the mainstream, in universities, in schools, in any institution, right? Any far-right ideology from all the institutions, it's banned, right? You're not allowed it whatsoever. Social media sites, you're not allowed it on there whatsoever. It's banned. It all gets banned. People's accounts get banned, terminated, shut down, all that type of stuff. And yet, despite all of that, it is still growing. Okay, so it kind of sounds like what the far left are doing is actually making the problem worse, just like in Weimar. So that's it. But the thing is, try and tell them that, and they don't care. You're actually making the problem worse. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. Even if you prove it to them, they don't care.
I know exactly what you mean. And for those who already heard me bring this up, my apologies. There was a member of Pete Buttigieg's campaign that we had on with Styx Hexenhammer 666. I'm sure you know Styx.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, and when she came on, one of the things that came up was trying to find out what was the very extreme policies of Donald Trump. And Gio even helped her out in the beginning when mentioning, like, I believe it was the Muslim ban that he mentioned. But anyway, we ended up breaking all the things down, and what we were left with was not anything that was that extreme, or rather, whatever it was something that other politicians have done before him, and others will do after him. So it kind of broke down, but there was no admittance of that part breaking down. You know what I mean? Like, there was just this very tight grip on a certain kind of reality. And that's why, like, I don't know what exactly is it going to take. Like, who do you, Count Dankula, other than yourself, who do you have a lot of faith in as somebody who can possibly turn this around and find a good enough place that a lot of people can see, even those who may be kind of like on the fence, could see that we're heading towards disaster, and they'll go on your side?
If there is hope, it lies with the Zoomers.
Oh, God, no. Oh, God, no.
It does. I'm sorry, right? Remember, there is going to come, like, you know, these things are generational, right? You know, you had a lot of fucking hippies and shit through the 60s and 70s, and then they had their kids, and then through the 80s and 90s, you had a lot of right-wing stuff, and the pendulum swings back and forth. And what's going to happen is a bunch of Zoomers are going to get brought up, and their mums and dads are going to make them cut their dicks off and chop their tits off and fucking spew all this far left ideological fucking nonsense. And then eventually you're going to get the kid who comes home one day with his hair cut absolutely immaculate, he's shaved clean, he's wearing a suit, and his mum and dad are like, what have you done,
he'll
son?
Have the Spencer weave. He'll have the
Yeah.
Spencer.
Well,
Speaking, fuck you, mum. Fuck you, dad. I'm going to start a family.
Well, speaking of
I'll show you.
Speaking of the Spencer weave, though, like you were saying in the beginning with the Weimar Republic and all that, do you think that it's more likely that they're going to be dressed in a brown suit as opposed to just a regular suit? If you catch my drift.
I'm not sure. They try and sort of avoid all the iconography, you know, like, because bad optics, you know. They don't want to look like, say for example, like, you know, you've got Antifa running around with their, like, you know, the black bloc clothes, dressed completely in black. If far right groups started doing that, the government would come down fucking so hard on them.
Oh yeah,
so fucking hard. They would come in and clamp right down on that. You know, Antifa get a lot more leeway with it because, you know, they are useful for the time being.
Well, then the brown shirt in spirit, if you will, do you think that one is likely or the other one is likely? Is it more likely that we'll have kind of like a return to 80s, 90s America, which a lot of people in the chat fault me for wanting us to go back to? Or do you think that it's going to, again, be like you were saying before, this far right wave to counter the far left wave?
You know, so history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, right? So it's we're not going to be able to get back, you know, what we've had in the years past, but we are going to have like a similar ethos, just modernized. You know, for example, back in the 60s and 70s, you had the old conservatives that had 2.5 kids with a white picket fence, like walking past the park and smelling weed and going, fucking hippies, screaming at them with their long hair and shit like that. Basically, we are going to have, you know, sort of a similar mindset to that, but it's just going to be like different types of people. Because a lot of people say, you know, the conservatism is progressivism driving the speed limit.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Lev, what were you talking about before I had to reboot my computer?
We were talking about me being Jewish and all the flack I get.
Already? That's a BTR record. Usually it takes a few minutes into the stream to...
Yes, exactly.
It's like a death match. They grab the light tubes right away instead of doing a few wrestling moves. They have to...
No, but
what did you say, Lev?
Well, I wanted to get into history a little bit and put you, Gio, slightly on the spot, because whatever...
Well, no, before I wanted to ask a broad question.
Go for it. And before
I'm just gonna have a quick cigarette.
before the broad question, everybody who's watching, subscribe to BTR. We have the best guests. We have the best streams of all time. Subscribe right now, and you're not gonna regret it. Patreon.com/breaktherules. I'm gonna add the link in there. Become a patron. You're gonna get beautiful wooden magnets. Anyway, Gio, go ahead, buddy.
Count Dankula, they're very interesting in that I think out of a lot of people that came up, it's hard to place the genealogy because you came almost like right after the Gamergate stuff, right? Like whereabouts? Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much just as Gamergate was winding down was when I came onto the scene.
Yeah.
Though I still get blamed for Gamergate. Even though it's like I didn't even have an account during Gamergate, man. I was a lurker when all that shit was happening.
There's also this interesting video by some low-level bread tuber about your video on the musician going around the Scottish National Gallery.
Loner Box, he's a grifter. He's a really big grifter. Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask is, it seems that out of all of the original, I mean, I want to take a shower even saying this term, the original like anti-SJW YouTubers, it seems that you've managed to like transform your content into something that is not just original and captivating and addicting, because like you can watch Mad Lads, you watch one, you got to watch it's like watching Sopranos clips on YouTube, right? But so where do you see the YouTube landscape in term, because you still have your other channel doing more like political, like old school reaction video content. Well, not reaction video, you know what I mean? Political videos. So where do you see the sort of future of not just the people that you were with, but also, I guess, politics on YouTube in general? Because it seems that BreadTube, with institutional support and sort of like astroturfing, has managed to like sink a deep root into political content on YouTube. Artificially, I would say, because a lot of your co-patriots were banned, of course. But, you know. So where do you see the future of not just your content, but also the sort of YouTubers of that era that are still around? I know Sargon has managed to maintain a relevance and sort of transform himself a little bit, but, you know.
I think there was some people where it became the only type of content that they made. And I knew from the beginning when I was wanting to make a serious go at YouTube that that's not something that you do. Like, don't pigeonhole yourself into a particular thing, because once whatever fad or trend or anything that's happening at the time, because as soon as that goes, you go. Mm-hmm. Like, that's it. It's over with, right? Remember reaction videos. You had people like Jinx and all these like big major ones that were pulling in like millions of views a day. And then after a while, when everyone went, "Hey, reaction videos are cringe," like they add nothing. So fuck this. And then they died. They're still around, but they're making nowhere near the bank that they used to. It's the same for like certain games as well. You know, a video game might be huge for a while, and then as soon as that video game dies, so does your channel, because that was the only type of content that you made. But for a long time, was making a lot of like free speech content and stuff like that, and I was just getting miserable because I was just delivering bad news like all the time. Here's reason number 100 about why we are going to become China any day now, and I was just getting miserable, and I decided to do Mad Lads.
You were this close to putting a map behind you.
I've been in that room. I have stood in front of that map. I've gazed upon his map.
Well, it seems that certain YouTubers and certain Twitter accounts, it's almost as if it becomes an odd form of like demoralization pornography, depending on what political side you're on. Like, they're doing it now.
But blackpilling. It's like that was one of the reasons as well. Is like some people didn't want to change with the times. Like, I will say, like from 2014 until I would say the beginning of 2018, the whole, fuck the right wing, fuck the left wing, fucking SJWs versus the anti-SJWs. That was fucking huge back then. That was huge. That was absolutely banging views because of Gamergate, because of Trump, the election, the Trump presidency, all of that was massive. But I have even noticed like it was trailing off after 2018, but especially after Biden won, it just tanked. There is still an interest in it. There are still some that are very popular, but the ones that survived were the ones that had like the huge fan base to prop them up. So see, for example, Crowder Crowder's going to be around for a while. He has a
Yeah.
very dedicated fan base, so he's going to be fine. But then you get other people, and there's a lot of the
little ones. They're gone.
Oh, they're all gone. They're all gone, and it's like. But the thing is, I remember it being the left wing who had the most figures, or maybe they just yelled at me the loudest. Maybe that's why I knew them. So people like David Sherritt, Steve Shive,
shit rat,
fucking Fisty Splinters, fucking Queen Bumblebee or whatever the hell she was fucking called, man. I can't remember, but oh Jesus Christ,
Crowd and
well, no,
he does normie content now. I gotta give him that. He does normie history content.
It was David Sherritt and Jeff Holiday, and they used to be with us, you know, back when they were cool.
God, Jeff Holiday.
Yeah, I remember Jeff Holiday as well.
Oh no,
Jesus.
pizza-related incident right there.
Jeff Holiday. Oh, he changed. Me and him used to be like really good friends, and then
I remember that.
It's not worth going into.
So
this would be a drama stream.
Yes. So if
but also like I would say that the ones that it depends because Sargon came out of it quite well, but the ones who sort of during 2019 burnt themselves out through the IBS thing, like you managed to avoid that largely, the internet blood sports, because that was like a sinking ship going down too fast. I mean,
it was blood sports was a very brightly burning candle. It was not going to last long. Like, see, I watched a few streams, right, and I was like, YouTube's going to come right down on this. Like, they are going to come in and just start swinging the banhammer. Like, there is no way that YouTube are going to allow this to continue. And look what fucking happens.
Well, BTR, like, what this is right now, the stream that you're on here, I think of it as trying to take a certain element of blood sports because there are confrontations that occur here on stream, but at the same time having it be like slightly big brain. Like, Gio, would that be the right way of saying that?
I guess.
You are asking a lot.
You're asking quite a bit.
A lot of the internet, yes. It's like we're just going to scream and insult each other, but we're going to use big words.
It's without the gamer words, I guess, Lev. That could be...
No, not just without the gamer words. I think in general we have higher level conversation. I don't know.
We've had a few blips along the way. I mean, we could name on our hands the disastrous.
But we also had people like Dennis McKenna, for example. You know, we had like highly intelligent people who come on here, as well as like mainstream people together with anonymous internet people. So that combination, that's different from blood sports, but it's something that I think is overdue.
It's funny how one of the best documentaries on the life of Aleister Crowley, rather than like the ridiculous kayfabe of his followers, is from Count Dankula, because we had a Crowley stream that was a total disaster. We had to lock our accounts on Twitter. Oh man, they came for us hard. So,
but really, like Crowley stands.
Yeah. Well, in specific, there was this lady who, I'm not going to name her name.
TikTok witch.
Yes, there was this TikTok witch.
I literally pretty much flat out called him a pedophile in my video.
No, that wasn't the reason.
And a glowy.
Count Dankula, that was not the reason. The reason why she got mad is when I started bringing up... Well, chat, sure, but also I started bringing up Bohemian Grove, and I was treating it. Okay. I was treating it with kid gloves. I was just saying, like, okay, like what do we know about this place? We know that a bunch of rich, well-connected people go there. We know that there was this videotape that Alex Jones took, and I can go to Google Maps and I could see exactly where this place is. She ended up freaking out on me trying to connect the occult to these tinfoil-hatted conspiracy theories. Like, she did not want those two things to coexist.
But they do coexist.
That's what I was thinking.
It's like the burning of the giant owl with, the symbolic sacrifice in the front of it. That's actually
cremation of care.
Some of those are actually based on old Scottish pagan rituals. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, these are things that I have no problem getting into, or Moloch, or things of that nature, or the stuff that's going on like with the Epstein Temple. But to have her react like that, I don't really know what to make of it. I guess she tries to distance herself from anything that her signaling kind of tells her, okay, this is conspiracy theory.
But you're worshiping Crowley, though. That's kind of like...
Yeah, it's kind of like... this is where you just go, I just don't want to be connected to any of that. Yeah, that's nice. Magic isn't real, you dumb bitch.
I disagree, Count Dankula. Magic is real. But you have to read Julius Evola to understand that magic is real, in my opinion.
No, I'm talking about Expelliarmus bullshit, right?
Oh, yeah, that's crap.
I thought we used to go say magic is real. Have you ever seen a sunset? Shut.
I didn't know that he cucked. I didn't know he cucked Christian Amurti. I didn't know, because Christian Amurti had a famous falling out with Theosophy, and I wonder if Crowley cucking him probably provoked him. There was this book he wrote in Theosophy. Of course, you've never read it before.
Sorry, just interrupt for a second. I am still here and I can still talk. I just turned my camera off so I can hang out my back door to have a fag.
Oh, no problem at all.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah. But it's all right. He's Scottish. He could say that word on YouTube.
Yes.
So yes. I mean, fag means cigarette where I'm from. It's fine.
So what I also wanted to get into here, well, first off, if this anti-SJW stuff is not really the coup de grace anymore, what exactly do you think replace it now? Like, what would you say is the spirit of the times that a lot of people are reaching out to right now who are online, if it's not this SJW, anti-SJW back and forth?
Well, the SJW, anti-SJW stuff is going to continue because basically politics still exists and still governs a lot of our lives, and it is very left versus right. And that's going to continue for a very long time. So basically the whole left versus right thing on YouTube and Twitter and all that's going to be here. That's going to continue. There might be some new contenders on the scene. There might be some big names that fade away. But is it ever going to be as big as it was like 2014 to 18? I don't think so. Because remember how back in the day, like Reddit atheism was like a huge thing. By the way, atheism YouTube was actually the source of the SJWs and anti-SJWs and all that. That was what it was before. They broke apart and became, what was it, the skeptics and atheism plus and atheism plus went on to become all the left-wingers, and skeptics became, well, the skeptics,
atheism plus
Sargon and all that.
Now
those days, like, God, really? And then who would have thought that, like, about 8 years later that would have turned into like Frank Hassel turning up at Boogie's door threatening to butt fuck him.
By the way, friend of the show, Frank Castle.
That's right, yeah.
He's been on multiple times.
He has.
I fucking love Frank. He's a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm pure like, I don't condone what he does. I do not encourage it, but god damn is it funny.
Lev is obsessed with Jessica.
Jessica, yes. Count Dankula, are you aware of Jessica? Do you know who I mean when I say Jessica?
Is this Wax the Balls bigot?
No, so one of Frank Hassel's videos where he played the good doctor, Dr. Don Wario, there was this...
in the grocery store.
Yeah, the grocery store. There was this guy who looked, I guess, Latin American or Middle Eastern, I'm not exactly sure, but here is a tweet that I did, if you can see the gallery view over here. Here is Dr. Don Wario, and this is Jessica over here. So this is...
I've seen clips. I've not seen the whole thing, but I've seen clips. I actually subscribed to Frank Castle on his Gumroad. I haven't watched these videos in a while, so I've been meaning to see that one.
So, Dr. Don Wario's whole thing is he wanted to sissify and bimbify Jessica over here.
Bimbo gas.
Yeah, with bimbo gas.
Course.
So what I ended up doing this little Photoshop over here, which is going to load in a second. Everybody subscribe. Let me do another screenshot. Oh, here we go. So this is...
Oh god.
So that's a bimbified Jessica right there, but that wasn't all. As soon as I discovered that now we have the ability to use artificial intelligence for this stuff, here was the next version. So this was the
looks hotter in there. That version.
Yeah, fully. It's missing the lipstick.
That's gilf material right there.
Exactly.
That's that. Yeah. I would hassle doctrine that. Yeah. Definitely.
And then
you'd enter inside Hassel Doctrine style.
Yeah. And then my worst fantasies. I fantasize about what if Frank could actually meet this guy, like track him down, find out who this guy is. He probably has a family. He probably needs to provide for them, and the economy's not getting any better. So what if Frank would raise money, like pay money to actually get this guy to like actually bimbify himself? You know, like actually like put on a wig and put on the
We could get a crowdfund going, GoFundMe.
Yeah, because he got so
like
angry.
every viral tweet on Twitter, it's like donate to this trans person's confirmation surgery. You know, if this tweet blows up.
It could be the same thing. But I wanna get back to Mad Lads. First off, do you find that you've also turned into a scholar, historian, whatever you want to say, from the amount of research that you do when doing these videos? Like, what exactly does it take to put one of these together?
A Wikipedia page.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm kidding on. Like, I go along with the meme when everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you're that guy from YouTube that reads Wikipedia." Like, and yeah, I will admit, like, we use the Wikipedia pages, but mostly as a timeline to get the events of their life in chronological order. So what we then do is we go, okay, we've got this period of his life, and then we go off the Wikipedia page and go, did they do any interviews for any magazines, or is there footage, or is there photos? And that's all the type of stuff that we do. Like, we don't, because there are people that literally just read the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. That's lazy as fuck. But like we've got writers, and like sometimes it can take up to like 2 weeks to put together a video. And all that, like fucking like the Aleister Crowley script was a mixture. It was mainly one guy and then another two of his helping. That's how long it took to put Crowley together. So there's a lot of work that goes into like the research part, because even though I make jokes going, yeah, I just read Wikipedia for a living anyway, here's Raid Shadow Legends.
Raycon.
Your boy Raid Shadow Legends, yes.
Anyway, it's your boy Wikipedia. but I try and avoid like just having the Wikipedia page. I want stuff that's not on the wiki. I want stuff that people don't know about the person, as long as it's, you know, obviously something absolutely fucking mental.
Well, I learned a lot of new things about Rasputin, by the way. As somebody who came from Russia, yeah. that was very really cool.
You have a Rasputin physiognomy, Lev, if you grew out the beard.
Well, my dad, and by the way, let me do a plug for my dad real quick. His name is Alexander Polyakov, and he does these beautiful nutcrackers, and he also does wooden sculptures. So if you become a patron at patreon.com/breaktherules, you can get a sculpture of his. But I'm not just shilling. The reason
do you have
why
the Styx Hexenhammer one, Lev?
Not here, because Styx has it, but I'll post it as well. But here's a Rasputin.
Photo, that's
sure. But here's the Rasputin that my father created.
Oh, he did a Rasputin one.
Yeah, my father did a Rasputin nutcracker.
Nice.
So he does these Russian style. I mean, look, guys, who knows? Count Dankula, if you want a Count Dankula nutcracker, maybe we can work something out. I mean, you never say never for Christmas time. But anyway, what I want to get into with Mad Lad specifically is the kind of conversation that Gio and I have about history. I end up siding more with the life really sucked back then, you know, despite any things that we want to kind of bring back into today's world as far as family, community, all that good stuff. Back in the day, we were like, oh, my 5-year-old's got a bit of a cold. Ah, that sucks, bro. Here's some literal fucking heroin. We got to go further back, before heroin even, like back in the Middle Ages. Like, Gio, I want you, if possible, to defend as much as you can the old days, like the medieval days, like you would when Count Dankula is not here.
Well, that's such a nebulous concept, Lev.
There are certain things that you think that back then, people were better off. I'm not saying medicine-wise, but I'm saying like in terms of not having the government intrude as much, as far as You know, I'm going to throw in the wife beating. You know what I'm talking about.
Like a societal structure.
To be fair, the government intruded like fuck back then as well. And not just the government, the church too.
All right, there we go. So, Gio, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, Gio, defend the base and red-pilled church controlled structure.
I think the problem is that a lot of like trad discourse is... it is like with rose-colored glasses, but also exactly what is tradition is not simply a sort of temporal like history of like, well, if things are like, further back, then obviously that was good. I think it's more of just having, really quickly I'm butchering it, but it's more of having like an integrated worldview that is sort of where one's notion of the self, but also the state one lives in. And of course, the state, as we know, it was different back then. It wasn't like the modern, post-Westphalian state. But let's, for convenience sake, let's say the region or the state or the empire which you are living in, there is sort of a coherent sense of one's place in the world. I think that's what people that are, tradcon or whatever, that I think that's what they're pining for. They're not necessarily saying, isn't it cool that, my 4-year-old is dying of dysentery. It's more of these, I guess maybe the aesthetics as well. That's probably another tradlarp type of thing.
But if we get rid of the dysentery and diseases, let's say we throw those out of the window. Count Dankula, as far as just the control that the government or the nobility or the king had over the people, what exactly was that like? Like, would this be a kind of life where, like, if you know your position, then you could just get used to it and it would be a fulfilling life? Or was it hell on earth? Or is it a little bit of both? Like, let me know.
There was a lot less regulation as far as trade went, but trade was also a hell of a lot riskier. If you wanted to deliver stuff, you had to invest a lot in security. Because, there was highwaymen, there was like people that would just gank you and steal all of your fucking shit.
Captain Feeney from Barry Lyndon, if you remember that movie.
I've not seen that, no.
It's a great movie, no problem.
But yeah, as far as there was things like with the king, there was conscription, there was a lot of stuff as well. Like, for example, the king could just come in and go, you're a blacksmith, you're a woodcutter, I realize you've spent like months making all this shit. Well, I'm taking it for this war that I've started for my own personal interest.
Yeah.
And everyone and it was stuff like that. And like, I would say that monarchy probably is a little bit more preferable to what we have nowadays, but monarchy is still shit.
Like, I think also, like, there was a lot of delineation between powers that people don't realize. I mean, this is the Juvenal's argument, but the sort of like absolutism that came later near like the post-Renaissance Europe, that's when things like started to become more centralized and more reliant upon like a merchant war economy. Whereas back then the peasantry had like different sort of interests that they could go to. They didn't have anything that we know as like quote unquote human rights, but they had sort of various like amelioratory mechanisms. Whereas like by the time the state sort of centralized, that's when you get like horrendous abuses, and now the totalization of war, for instance, that's like, if you trace the lineage of it, as centralization increases, that's when a lot of fucked up shit happens.
But what are these amelioratory elements that you're talking about?
Well, there was when feudalism was less centralized among the lordship in various regions, there was different like bodies, there was different sort of like peasantry groups and guilds you could go to if you had specific issues. But as soon as in England, as soon as the land gentry, if I recall, I'm not very good with specific historical facts, but as soon as like the land gentry centralized, that's when you had this is like on the cusp of the Industrial Revolution even. Like this is that, because that's another thing too, is like this centralization that happens with urbanization and like the Industrial Revolution. That's another, I think, reason why people sort of chide a lot of what happens, because it seems that horrendous abuses happens as various things develop, like technology and so forth. So
but I don't know about that.
Well, that would be. Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
Like it goes in waves, right?
But that would be my argument against monarchy in the modern age, though, is that like with the technology we have today and all the fears we have of the abuse that can happen today in democracies, imagine what that would be like with a fucking monarchy where it's basically like a dictatorship. It's like I'm not saying it would literally be North Korea, but like you're handing over so many powers with the modern technology that we have today.
That is the problem, I think, with a lot of NRX thinking. Like, I hate to call out, as much as I respect and appreciate his writing, but I think that's a problem at the end of the day with people like Moldbug and that. It seems like, take modern neoliberalism, but then it's like, well, corporate state. I don't know.
Well, I want to get Count Dankula's views on this, but first, Gio, if you and Joel Davis got together and constructed an close as possible to an ideal system, what would it be?
You can never answer that question.
Not ideal, as close as possible. Like if you got to vote for somebody to come in and
it wouldn't be, I think, mass society the way we know it. I think that even a cursory like early liberal nation, the way that, for example, the founding fathers, even before with Edmund Burke and like pre-French Revolution liberalism, I think like you can't have it with a society of millions upon millions of people. I think that's number one that would have to go. It would necessitate that our ideas become, like the nation state itself would have to be in disruption. It couldn't, you know what I mean? Like that, that's number one. But I don't know. I couldn't envision a perfect system. I mean,
I didn't say
monarchy,
perfect,
I guess, but I don't know.
Well, how about yourself, Count Dankula? Like, what would be the system that you would strive towards? Because you were in politics as well. Well, you are in politics still, right? Like, you were... where are you going right now as far as your political position?
Are you still a member of UKIP?
No, I left UKIP like over 2 years ago.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, it was basically... the party in its entirety just shit the bed, right? And like, one of the things that I don't get people still do is they go... You and Sargon destroyed it. Sargon destroyed UKIP. No. This was the thing is me and him were like, have you ever seen that fucking like the gif from Breaking Bad where it's Aaron Paul with a glass of water? Like that was me and Sargon throughout the entire thing. And for some reason, people use that to like bash me and Sargon when the real person that caused the collapse of UKIP was Nigel Farage.
I hate to say it, but that's true.
It's like the reason for it is that there's so much shit that I could go into, right? But basically, the very, very short version is Brexit passed and Nigel Farage sort of did this. My work here is done, and like rode off into the sunset. But he still kept on he basically took almost no active role in the management of the party or any of the events or anything like that, or elections or all that shit. Basically, he kept his position as an MEP, he kept his radio show, he kept the money makers going. But outside of that, he pretty much took nothing to do with the party. And then there was one event that we were at, and it was basically the UKIP conference. Gerard Batten was on stage, and all the big, Neil was on stage, all the big names. Nigel Farage came out and got booed.
Oh,
right.
Good.
And we were all sitting there like fucking like this is UKIP booing Nigel Farage, right? And then there was some people that were shouting, "It's not your fucking party anymore." And I think a lot of people in UKIP resented him because they were like, "Brexit happened, and then you fucked off." Like you just.
Well,
fucked off.
why did he fuck off? Why did he form the Brexit party?
Why did? Oh, right now that's basically.
He said he was going to get out of politics, but then he formed the Brexit. Yeah.
No, yeah. This is the part that doesn't add up. But this is we feel we know what happened. So that happened, like the whole people, and he left. He didn't hang around for drinks. He didn't hang around for any of that shit. He just left, right? And like after going around and talking to everyone, we could sort of tell the opinion of Nigel Farage was not very high, apart from in the very high upper echelon of UKIP. And Farage done his usual, just disappeared again and basically took nothing to do with the party. And then Tommy Robinson wanted to join UKIP, right? And everyone was like, should he be able to join? Should he not be able to join? Blah, blah, blah. And my response was, it should be put to a party vote. It should be put to a party vote. Like, let the party vote. If, for or against, and whatever the result is, he'll either join or he doesn't get to join. Before any vote could happen, Gerard Batten took Tommy Robinson on as an advisor, right? So he wasn't a party member. He wasn't He wasn't a member of the party.
Yeah, it's a bit sneaky, that, isn't it? Really.
Well, Tommy literally was just supposed to be an advisor. He had no say whatsoever in UKIP. Like he didn't hold a role. He didn't have any power. He literally was just giving information to Gerard Batten. And then what happened was Nigel Farage went, that is the last straw. I'm leaving the party. The party has surged too far to the right. coming from fucking Nigel Farage. but basically, and then a week later, he's like, I have a new party called the Brexit Party. It's fully codified, ratified. It's done. And whoa, hold on. It takes minimum 6 months to set up a political party.
Yeah,
and that's just the paperwork. Right, just the paperwork, the signatories, the signing off. You need to speak to the NEC. You need to do all manners of stuff. And it's like, but in a week, you had a political party fully up and running, right, and ready immediately to go into an election, which was just starting at the time. So basically, we think what happened was all those many, many months before, when he got booed, Farage went, well, fuck it, I'm just going to start another party, but I'm only going to bring the people that like me.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like in wrestling, when you have like a betrayal of a faction and someone joins another one, like when Evil joined Bullet Club, it's like the announcers are like, oh my God, he's got different ring gear. He must have planned this ahead of time. Now he's got the New World Order ring gear instead of the whatever faction WCW was.
but basically what ended up happening was he started this party, and we all sort of knew, like, you started like the paperwork for this months ago, back when you realized that you had lost UKIP. Like, no one in UKIP liked you anymore apart from the higher ups. And then what happened was you were like, oh shit, I need a reason. I need a good reason. And then he heard Tommy got brought on as an advisor, just an advisor. And Farage went, oh, great, there it is. The reason has fell into my lap. Yeah, I quit, guys. And it's because of Tommy. Bullshit. You were going to leave anyway. You were going to leave anyway because you had this whole other fucking political party set up. You just needed an excuse, right? It was optics. That's why he did that. And then what happened was, after that, all of the people in UKIP that were loyal to Nigel Farage jumped ship and went over to the Brexit Party. And there was a lot of people in the higher up places like the NEC who were back. They were begging for Farage to become the leader again. They wanted him to be the leader again, but he kept saying no. And anytime a new leader got selected, the NEC, they're sort of like, you know, the inner circle, you know, they're the top floor of UKIP. They get to decide all the shit. And a bunch of them did jump ship and go with Farage as well. But a lot of them stayed because if they jumped ship and went to the Brexit Party, they wouldn't have the level of power that they currently held within UKIP. So basically, they wanted a lateral move, but if they joined the Brexit Party, it would be a demotion, so they didn't want to do that. So they just kept fucking up with UKIP, and they went through a bunch of leaders. Everyone was stabbing each other in the back over like fucking decades-old fucking like grievances and shit. People were getting kicked out left and right, and that's when I'm sitting while the Red Wedding was happening around me. I'm looking around going, well, are we still going to do all the free speech activism? Are we going to do any more events where I get to talk about free speech? And I was like, none at all. Okay, right.
That's true believer.
Yeah. So basically, So that is the story of what actually happened, because like that's. Like, say, for example, let's say that Bernie Sanders was the face of the fucking socialist movement in America, right? And there was an American Socialist Party, and he was the fucking, like, head of it. And then what happened is, you know what, the crux, you know, the crucial moment, Bernie Sanders goes, fuck the American Socialist Party. I'm going to go and form my own party. Now, what would happen is the vast majority of voters for the Socialist Party would go where Bernie went. They would vote for whatever party Bernie went into. He would take the votes with him because he essentially is the face of American socialism right now. Nigel Farage is literally Mr. Brexit. He is the face of Brexit. He's the man that made Brexit happen. Anytime if you ask anyone in the street who caused Brexit, they'll say Nigel Farage, right?
Yeah, so, it was almost single-handedly, yeah.
Yeah, but almost single-handedly. He had help. But basically, when he left, all the voters went with him. All of them. Man, like a lot of the voters thought UKIP was dead. They thought UKIP was over as a party. So they were like, oh, it's the Brexit Party now. And that's what happened. And that was the actual true story behind the scenes. But then everyone goes like, well, You made a racist joke on stage, and then Sargon said that he totally wouldn't rape an MP. And that's what destroyed UKIP. And it's like, I don't know why people are still saying that, because the real reason is so much juicier. So much fucking juicier. And they could use it to bash Farage, because he did. He fucked everyone over. Like, but, hey, but it's my fault. It was me. I tanked UKIP.
It seems like UKIP had an opportunity there with you and Sargon to maybe reinvent themselves as well, and they just completely flopped it, really.
And that was the thing, is I wanted to do more events. See how when they says, do you want to come over to the European Parliament and debate the MEPs on Article 13? I was like, fuck yeah, I do. I will pay for my own flights and hotel. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to annihilate them. And the only place in the building where they would speak to us is in this room before the big main chamber, where you're not allowed to film at all. No news crews, no cameras, no journalists, nothing. And that was the only place they would speak to us. And we annihilated every single one of them on all of the points. And we were sitting there watching, going, see, even though we proved them wrong, watch them. They're going to vote in favour of it anyway. And every single one of them did. Wow. And one of the things that really bothered me, right, is we read like the document, we read the legislation, and there was just absolutely horrendous shit in it. There was standards that were being asked to be met that, see, any like startup, like internet social media company just couldn't do. They could not meet these requirements in the legislation. Google and YouTube, etc., they could do it no problem. The small startups, they don't have a fucking hope in hell. And basically, like, all these points we were all making to them, and every time we were bringing something up, the MEPs were looking to their assistants, looking to their PAs, right? And I was like, all right, okay then. So what's happened is, you've got this little 19-year-old Lithuanian to read the fucking legislation that you're about to vote on, that's about to govern hundreds of millions of people. You're about to vote on this and you haven't even read it. Do you know why? Anytime I ask you a question, you're turning your head and looking at the girl who gets the coffee for guidance. Right?
Wow. This is just disgusting.
Nope.
Right? The EU Parliament in Strasbourg is modelled after the Tower of Babel for a reason.
Yeah. I remember I saw a video with, I think it was you and Sargon stood in the building and you were talking about it. Was it when you were in the building? I can't remember, but I remember one of you guys talking about it at the time, and like I remember thinking that was really interesting, because they don't do things like that like it's on purpose. They're not that's not an accident. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to tell you something.
Well, it was modeled by Alexander Kojev, the Hegelian Marxist who became a bureaucrat to fulfill the end of history world universal state. So the EU is like a testing ground. But then, I mean, come on, that's kind of.
But here's what I'm curious. But here's what I'm curious about then. Since you're a student and teacher of history, Count Dankula, you've ran into many different, very inspiring historical figures. Today, what you just said right now, those people seem more like NPCs than, actual historical people. Is this just naturally you're going to have a lot more people like that? So if we were to take a time machine back then to, 1920s, 1930s, century before, we'd find similar scenarios with a Count Dankula speaking to similar NPC people? Or would you say in general the level has just gotten so low that these people who are in charge of things are significantly worse and significantly less aware?
They are extraordinarily clueless. They are extremely clueless in a lot of the things that are going on. Like, say, for example, like, you were getting people that were voting on legislation about AI and they didn't even know what AI stood for. AI weapons, that sounds like some bumbly techno jargon. It's like, yeah. If fucking AI weapons, right? Like we all know the dangers of artificial intelligence weaponry, right? Like we all know the fucking dangers, but these people had no idea and they were voting it through anyway. And the reason for that is like a lot of these people don't have kids. They're career men and women. They don't have kids. They don't have families. They have their only investment is in the now, right? That is their only investment. They don't give a fuck about the future. They want a lot of power, a lot of money, and a lot of wealth for themselves personally now and who gives a shit what happens in the future.
To be fair, though, if there was somebody in the past who said similar things about the politicians, saying like, "Oh, they only care about themselves," and yada yada yada, would both that person and you be just as correct? Or if you got him into the future and showed him what you experienced, then he'd say, "Yes, our people are bad. Yours are far worse." You know, like I'm still don't know just because I didn't live back then, but you've studied a lot more than I have. The people back then, were they just as bad? Or
people complained about the government just as much. They complained about the government just as much, and the government did do a lot of fucking stupid things. However, you know, the whole, like, see, democratic republics, this was, you know, it's something that has been around for a very long time, you know, since ancient Greece, but it was never really widely adopted. You know, the main thing was monarchy. Monarchy was like the big thing for a good few thousand years. But then what happened was after World War One, you know, like that was sort of the end of like global monarchies. They still exist, obviously, but nowhere near to the scale that they do now. And back then, democratic republics, you know, to the scale that they've been done, there was a lot of teething problems, there was a lot of mistakes, there was a lot of learning. So some of the fuck ups back then you could put down to governments just going, well, this is us trying this shit for the first time, you know, so if we fucked up, this is obviously a bad idea. And what happened was back then, if a law or a piece of legislation was shit, it would get withdrawn. They would go, oh shit, this is causing a lot of problems. This is fucking the country up a little bit, so let's just like let that slide. Whereas in the modern day, even if a law and bit of legislation comes in, regardless of the fucking problems it causes, the government will never admit it was wrong and instead just lie and say, no, everything is working as intended. There's a reason why your wages are worth less and less every week. Inflation is a good thing.
Yeah. Oh my god. I've been having so many arguments about that
treats
recently. Oh my god.
But does
it's all treats, really. But that's I think what the difference being is that in a sort of more of an authoritarian system or even a monarchical system, you have sort of a vision for what can take place. Whereas nowadays, with sort of the rise of the managerial state and bureaucratization, it seems that like there's like a headless body. It's like, where is there to place blame?
Yeah, but
or it's directly good, and therefore it's like just good by virtue of the fact that like quote unquote liberal democracies have shoved it through. Which I mean, I could say a lot about the current things in the past 2 years, but we can't say them on YouTube. We have to use acronyms like the sacrament.
But again, Gio, the examples that you brought up, they may have worked in the past, but right now, as we talked about, since we do have this overarching technological space, if somebody gets that amount of power, that amount of top-down rule, I really doubt they're going to do the right thing with that kind of control. But as far as people back then who were like middle managing politicians or whatever, it seems to me like there was more of an emphasis on the classical education back then for a lot of those people. There were maybe certain virtues that they held. I don't know. I mean, again, they could all have been full of shit for all I know, but at least in how they dressed, how they conducted themselves, if I'm talking about England specifically, there seemed to be this refinedness about them. And do you think that's...
Intellectualism was a sign of being upper class, being held in very high regard and everything. Basically, it's like, I speak Latin. You know, my homies speak Latin. Do we speak Latin in Britain? Fuck no, but we speak Latin. Like that was it back then. You know, it was a sign of status, like being an intellectual.
And is that gone now? You'd say?
Oh, completely. Yeah, that's completely gone. And all that, like, and it was sort of like, you know how back in the day, like early Looney Tunes, right? There is a shit ton of jokes about the Greek and Roman gods and Greek and Roman mythology and stuff like that. Like, see, for example, like Nimrod. No one, you know, when Bugs Bunny calls fucking Elmer Fudd Nimrod. In the modern day, everyone would go, oh, Nimrod obviously just must mean dumb or something. No, it's not. It's Nimrod the Hunter, right, from Greek mythology. Right, so, and that's why, like, but back then, because everyone was learning like Greek and Latin and all of that stuff, like in the educational establishments, people back then got that joke. Yeah. Right? Whereas in the modern day, you don't get classical education anymore. Like, obviously, like if you're doing any of the STEM subjects, then it's not really relevant, right? You know.
But now, thanks to the internet, though,
a lot of politicians are like lawyers mostly now.
No, but look at, for example, like Boris Johnson, though, like Count Dankula. Boris Johnson is somebody who can recite the Iliad, fluently in Greek. I mean, would you say that that's kind of a holdover from the past? He went to Eton. He's really well educated.
I was gonna say he went to Eton, and Eton College they hold on firmly to that classical education, the old school. See, the intellectuals of the 1800s type stuff. They've held very tightly onto that because
Jacob Rees-Mogg is another one like that as well, isn't he?
Big time.
But it still does not seem to be enough, you'd say, for at least the people who are in power right now to have that much of an effect. I guess the thing that concerns me is, I know that you're a libertarian, I lean pretty libertarian as well, but I still believe in a hierarchy. I still believe that there should be, very powerful in terms of intellectual ability people who have a certain resonance, who, let's say, are an example for others to follow. And if that's not going to be the case through government, which it doesn't seem like it will be the case, how can we regain something of that in the future?
I think it would just be a case of no one should have any of that type of power. Nobody should have that type of power over anyone. I'm talking, possibly the absolute late stage libertarianism where just everyone, everyone's front garden is its own country. No one has power over anybody else. Because it's a case of you do get good rulers, right? You do get good rulers. Was it Uruguay? The guy, I forget the guy's name and I feel really bad about it, but this guy went in and reformed the absolute shit out of the government, and he basically drastically increased Uruguay's GDP, he legalized weed, he decriminalized a bunch of drugs, and instead made the focus towards rehabilitation instead of, just locking shit tons of people up. And basically, the economy boomed and everyone was happier and all that type of stuff. And you do get good rulers, but unfortunately you get bad rulers. And in my opinion, a lot more bad rulers than you do good ones, because all you are to them is a vote.
I don't even mean
it filters down as well to the more local level on
I don't know about that.
On a corruption level, because I started doing architecture a little while ago, and I had to interact with councils around here, and whether it's Labour Council or Tory Council doesn't really matter. All of them are trying to raise their property prices. So if you're trying to do building projects and stuff like that in their area, they'll purposefully stall it in order to raise house prices, create the housing bubble and stuff like that. And I just find it amazing that Labour will bang on about the housing crisis, and yet their councils are engaged in all this shit all the time, and it's so fucking annoying.
I think
a lot of people in the upper echelons of all the parties own a lot of property.
Yeah, 100%.
That's true.
Gio, you were saying the problem.
Well, the problem, I think, is that with any sort of absolutist, that's not the right word, with any sort of, I think, centralized system, you really need people to have sort of a coherent, cultural, religious, even racial understanding of each other in order to truly work in any sort of sense. Nowadays, I think, especially in, I would say, the sort of Anglosphere, North America in particular, I think that's almost not an impossibility. You want to be totally
no, but we were on that road.
But it's let's face it, it's pretty much an improbability.
No, but Gio, hold
on. I know this guy did not just say that I was part of the Anglosphere.
Oh, I'm so terribly offended, Scott. Well, that
you
is
don't want to come after the Celts, mate.
Well, wait, Gio. I do have to push back though, because what you're talking about right now, we're still assuming not a utopia here, but I'm still assuming that there were a lot of problems that people faced, even if they all look the same in this kind of top-down rule before absolutism. I'm not talking about after absolutism. I know that that's the point that you made about after absolutism. Things got a lot more
even if you're
centralized.
A libertarian, like I'm not a libertarian by any... Well, I was for many years. But even if you look at Hoppe, even that system can shift to a more of a... for lack of a better term, absolutist understanding of political rule. If anything, Hoppe and even certain writers like Heinlein would demonstrate that the only way to achieve any meaningful libertarian society is if you did have a top-down structure sort of guarding you from the rear. To you know what I mean?
I guess it depends. Well, it depends on the size of the structure, because I'm not for sort of an autocracy where a lot of people are dependent on the decision of a particular person that's not going to be well challenged. And I don't know, I still doubt that there was this fairness about the way the church conducted business back in those pre-absolute monarchy days. Like, I think there was still a lot of corruption going around just because of human nature. I know, like, that's why I still like... Even though you could say that these are memes, these checks and balances, which, again, I know it's not working out great, but it still seems like if there were no checks and balances, things would get a lot worse, especially in the technological age.
We mentioned the ancient regimes, and that was pretty much the universal consensus among every both external and court philosopher, was that democracy would be a total disaster anywhere you implement it.
Of course, I'm not talking about democracy. I'm not talking about democracy, though. But anyway, I want to get back to Count Dankula when it comes to libertarianism. Where do you think the line should be drawn as far as the amount of hierarchy that is required for us not to just devolve into a bunch of animals, into whatever, you know what I mean? Like, because at a certain point, we need some role model. We need something to look up to. Otherwise, what's the incentive for, getting better? I don't know.
Well, then, what you should look up to is yourself. Then there's your incentive to getting better. Man, like you're the master of your own fucking destiny. Why do you need someone else to tell you what you're supposed to do?
If you're born without like a family to guide you, like if you're being raised by wolves, then you're gonna act like a wolf. I don't know. Am I wrong here?
I don't.
I'm kind of taking Gio's side a little bit right now, just to be a devil's advocate.
That's what I mean. You really need a culture and an understanding of your place in the world to even.
There will be a culture. Libertarianism doesn't mean like no culture. Like everyone is still going to be interacting and mingling and stuff like that. And obviously, depending on where you are geographically, is going to obviously like dictate like what your culture ultimately comes to be, because obviously you absorb, social behaviors from your surroundings, and those could end up forming part of your character as an adult. So, for example, if I was born in the Middle East, I would be a very different person. If I was born in London, I would be the same type of person I would be in the Middle East. But like, you know what I mean? But it would be a case of as well, like, one of the things that people like to talk about as well is, like refugees, immigrants, and migration and stuff like that as well, or what would happen with that under libertarianism and everything. Well, it would actually like mostly grind to a halt, because it's a case of, well, if you want to come over here, you've got to fucking pay for it. Like, no government to hold your hand, no subsidies, no free housing, no welfare. If you want to come over here, you need to fucking pay for it. You need to work like everyone fucking else. Right, so ultimately it would be a case of anyone who would move to an area, it would be someone that like had money. It would be someone that had a work ethic. It would be someone who actually had some type of capital, right? So they're not going to be, a mindless barbarian or anything like that. If they want to come over here, then, that's fine. Pay for it.
But is that something that people who are, let's say, going to be living in England or wherever is going to be this much more libertarian place, is this something that they would just agree upon? Or is it still something that has to be somewhat... I'm not saying like heavily iron-fistedly enforced, but still something that should be kind of nudged slightly to get people into a certain direction. Like looking at Korea, for example, South Korea. Americans, after the Korean War, they put a lot of emphasis on education, and there was a sort of a hierarchy there when it came to, older people teaching younger people, and now look at Korea. I mean, it's got its own share of problems.
Yeah, they went off the rails with their culture and their civilization. Now we have K-pop.
Oh, boy. Okay, fine. K-pop, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And anything that created K-pop was an awful example of culture.
Oh, God.
There you go.
Oh, man.
K-pop made me root for the North.
Best Korea.
All right, I guess I'm taking an L on that one.
Did you want to answer the question? Because I want to ask you about Scotland in particular. But
yeah, I guess I'm curious, Count Dankula, what exactly do we need here to have the culture? Because I agree that there will be different cultures, but how would a culture that thrives on pressure be able to be enforced within the group if there wouldn't be that much of a government control?
Well, it would become through like social interactions. Like people want to mostly interact with people who are culturally like the same as them. You know, like people for example, unless you're like on vacation or whatever, and you want to drink in the culture and the wide range of restaurants and like, you know, that type of shit, right? But obviously, like I said, whenever you're growing up in an area, like your social behaviors are shaped by the social behaviors of those around you, and that's where culture comes from, right? Basically, societies start, everyone, you know, behaviors begin to spread and take form and everything, and obviously those behaviors then get passed down, like from generation to generation. Like, say for example, you know, my granny grandfather was Scottish, my mum and dad were Scottish. Like, I'm not going to start suddenly acting like an Egyptian.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know, like the culture like gets passed on down the generation. But
in this world, like, is there borders and stuff like that as well? Because I'm just wondering like how you would keep, like, because you're saying like people would come over if they had money, but would there not also be people that want to come over to try and take shit from other people as well? Like, if there's like no borders and kind of no rules, isn't that opening the floodgates to like other shit going on?
No, that basically, if people did try to invade, you have basically it's your property. Like, you're just the same as any country has the right to use any means necessary to defend itself.
Oh, so the population would have guns and stuff, is it?
Oh yeah. Under libertarianism, yeah. Fuck yeah, we would have guns. we could have whatever fucking guns we wanted.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you'd still have other powers. Also, Chinese. I mean.
Yeah, I know. But also, if you wanted to hire a private military contractor to carry out the security for you, that's something you can do as well.
But within the,
but then we'd have people killing each other. it'd be like a Sinaloa in the 80s of every fucking.
It'd be like if Facebook had a militia, you know, Google had a militia.
I know.
It'd be like Weimar Germany. You'd have like Antifa in the streets going at it with the reactionary, you know, a certain other ideology on the right. You know, I mean,
I don't know.
Think that, but it wouldn't. There would be a lot more diplomacy between it to obviously avoid any type of bloodshed happening, because unlike, you know, democratic republics and societies, you know, like the one that I envision, war is in fact bad for business instead of it being good for business like it is in the fucking current day.
I agree there.
But also, what would be your like take on the way that to put on my, like, you know, critique hat, but like, what would be your take on just the nature of capitalism itself and how it is manifested? Like, in that sort of libertarian state, do you think that the parameters by which we do the quote unquote free market would have to change? Because it seems that capital sort of incentivizes massive centralization given a huge period of time. It seems that it accelerates, I know that word is such a meme term, but it accelerates certain centralization of not just economy, but also society in general.
It's under current regulations that stop valid competitors coming up. Like I just mentioned earlier with Article 13, like they wanted to impose massive rules and requirements on, massive rules and regulations on big tech companies. Basically, we want you to examine every single fucking pixel of content that comes up. If it's copyrighted, you must remove it immediately, right? Whereas someone as big as Google, you know, with their algorithms, and it turns out that a lot of those algorithms that do that, Google owns the patent to them. So basically, this small company would have to make its own fucking algorithm, because Google isn't going to hand out its fucking algorithm, even for a price, you know, for a price to a competitor. That's not something that they're going to do. So no valid competition can arise. So regulation actually restricts regulation restricts competition. The more rules and regulations that you apply, it stops the little guy coming up. You're building walls in front of the little guy. But unfortunately, you know, all the big, massive companies, they're already well beyond those walls. They have the financial means to stay where they are. Yeah, okay, it lowers, you know, their net profit at the end of the year a little bit, but they're already at the top of the ladder, right? You know, all these regulations do is remove the fucking ladder and don't let the little guy come up. So basically, the way capitalism is being run now causes centralization.
I would agree with that, actually. So my criticism is not Geo's. Mine, again, goes back to those Eton betters, or whatever you want to call them, where I understand that cultures would be able to exist, different ones. But I still don't understand when it comes to resurrecting something that, at least from just imagining it, seems to be the result of there having been a certain kind of, upper class, not top down, but like an expanded upper class rule when it comes to having certain standards that, let's say, people who are, like the masses would then emulate, kind of like copying a certain fashion. So let's say a lot of the traditions that were passed down to all of us were the result of, let's say, some people in their castles, having the court philosopher or whatever, whichever combinations here resulted in how people dressed, how people conducted various rites. And I don't know how can we get back to that in there just being like pure every man for himself type of libertarianism. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's not every man for himself. It's it would be in that sense in regards to his private property, but I think a lot of people sort of think libertarianism is, I'd like 50 homesteads with a guy on the front porch in a rocking chair with a shotgun and like none of them talk to each other. And that's not the case. It would still be like a normal society. Everyone would still interact and trade and, take part in, like, they would be sharing their labor, mutual exchange, private contracts, free contracts, all of these like consensual interactions, those would still happen en masse. Like, you would still have everyone going down to the local pub. You would still have everyone going to music concerts and all these other types of things as well. And obviously social interactions happen, when all of that is going on, then culture spreads and, that you get a sort of, behavior that becomes homogenous with everyone. Like I said, the more social if people socially interact, then culture forms. And obviously, say for example, if like right now where I live, let's say that Glasgow in Scotland just go boom, libertarian city-state. Yes. There you go. 100 years from now, that city's still going to be Glaswegian, with Glaswegian dialect, Glaswegian accent, Glaswegian customs of stabbing each other. That
great Scottish pastime.
Yeah, the great Scottish pastime of getting drunk and then waking up and having a fight. Yeah. But basically, that would still happen. Like, as far as I'm concerned, see how it says that one of the things that does affect culture is immigration. If you have a lot of people of varying different cultures, getting thrown in there, then obviously that can affect the social interactions and change their course, and that can have an effect on culture. Whereas with libertarianism, if you want to live here, you can, but you fucking pay for it. You pay for it. You want to live here, you pay the rent. You want to live here, you buy the land, right? So that's why basically I feel that libertarianism would actually do well for helping the culture. And at least if people did move here, it would be people with money, which means they have a work ethic, so they are, maybe wanting to, expand their factory operations or something instead of, going into a back of a taxi with a bomb strapped to their chest,
But would, let's say, but would a...
Well, I don't know.
But,
I think
no, but
maybe it's true what Nick Land said, that as society grows more complex with technology and mass migration, that any system other than overt fascism would just be a waste of time and too complicated. I don't know. Maybe he's right.
No, but would...
Bang Numina, people.
No, I agree about the pubs and concerts and all that good stuff. But what about the Eatons and the Latin and all that? Like, I'm trying to imagine how that can exist.
They would still exist. They would still exist because they have the option to. Nothing's restricting them from existing. Like, that's something that's already established, and I feel it's something that would still continue. I mean, a lot of people. I will admit now, like, there are some things that go out of fashion because a lot of things are. Back in the day, you could learn things like as a hobby. This is just a little thing that I want to learn. But we are like a very work-centric society right now. So whenever people go to university, they're like, the knowledge that I get here has to be knowledge that lets me get a fucking job.
Yeah.
Like I don't want a little like Latin. I want to be a programmer. Why the fuck do I need to learn Latin? Like,
but then
that's
what was
the problem?
But then
is
what
the
was that?
universities, they become finishing schools.
Yeah, but what was that thing originally though that got them to take those hobbies up? That got them to learn Latin? Like, what was that particular culture? Like, it was a
social. That was a social thing because being an intellectual was seen as being of high status.
There we go.
Well, it was the Faustian spirit of.
Basically, way back then, being able to recite the Iliad in fluent Greek was the equivalent of walking in there with like a Gucci jacket.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, okay, good. But then what?
Swinging your dick around.
Yeah,
But then what defines high status?
Leaning in going, I'm
Well,
about to say the
was-
Lord's Prayer in Latin. Yes, I fuck.
Well, it was also, I think, the Faustian spirit of European peoples. I mean, say what you want. I mean, yes, all the, racism and genocide. But, like, look at the British Empire. I mean, they collected baubles and knowledges of vast peoples. The entire world was racist. The entire world was racist. Oh,
The
yeah.
entire world was genocidal.
But what motivated them to archive the knowledge of the people that they conquered? I think if you have I guess the closest example would be the modern American empire that denies its own imperial status. I mean, what are we archiving of the various peoples we go after? Nothing, right? Like, we want to give them, like in Iraq and Afghanistan up until recently, we wanted to give them internet pornography and McDonald's. I mean, that's.
I recall this quote by Cecil Rhodes. I don't know if you'll like it, Count Dankula. Remember that you are an Englishman and have consequently won first prize in the lottery of life. What do you think?
Basically, that's the equivalent of basically like, hundreds of years ago, my country was fucking forced to join England, and it's like some big pompous cunt with a big powdered wig and a cravat came up to me in my little fucking mud hut somewhere in the Highlands and went, "Congratulations,
You're an English citizen." It's like that line from Train Spotting. In Scotland, we're the lowest of the low because we're controlled by wankers. But that's a good transition. What do you what's the sort of current state of Scottish politics and the Scottish National Party? Like, where do you see, like, post? I mean, Brexit. I mean, let's face it. It was kind of like a bill of goods. But where do you see, like, the sort of like sentiment in Scotland so far? Like, it seems they've dramatically shifted to, like, what we know as, like, I guess, like, the quote unquote left, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, the reason Scotland leans very predominantly left, and there are a good few reasons for that. One of the reasons is the reason that everyone is so blasé as far as immigration laws go in Scotland is, despite, everything that happened, with the Syrian mass migration and all that type of stuff, Scotland is still 96% white.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is when immigrants come to Britain, they can go to any part of Britain that they want. Scotland being Britain, they can come here. And I shit you not, I've worked with a bunch of them in security. I've like spoken to quite a lot of them. They come to Scotland, they realise that it is a cold, dark, constantly raining, abysmal place. And, that's one of the reasons. But the primary reason is there are no jobs. There are no jobs because taxes are higher in Scotland. So companies and factories and stuff are kind of like, well, I'm just going to open it up in England then and like pay less fucking taxes. So what happens is all the immigrants like come to Scotland and go, fuck this, and then go. Like one of the famous examples that I like citing because it's fucking hilarious. One of the Western Isles of Scotland is a place called Bute, and there was a Syrian family that get put on this island, and they were like the only like brown people on the whole fucking island, and like the like news crews came up to them and says, "Oh, how are you enjoying your new life on Bute?" And like the dad of the family just said, "This is where old people come to die." Man. And everyone was fucking furious at him, and I was like, "He's fucking right. He's right though." He's like,
but that's like Canada here. Yeah. That's like certain parts of Nova Scotia or the Maritimes. It's basically just a retirement home on government subsidy, and there is no work whatsoever. So all the immigrants, they go to like Toronto or Montreal or
Toronto the good.
We'd get the same thing, but they go down to England, and that's why a lot of people in Scotland, because of that, they haven't seen, the damage that can be caused by mass immigration. Another reason as well is the left-wing lean is hereditary. And the reason for that is because of a woman that you might have heard of called Margaret Thatcher. What basically happened is, sometime back in the 80s, Margaret Thatcher just lifted her skirt and took a gigantic fucking shit on Scotland. Just took a bite, like all the mines, all the
coal miners,
same in Wales,
Dog Fielding.
Basically, half of Scotland became unemployed in a year, right? Because of her. And the jobs just never came back, right? And so what ended up happening was Scotland, to sort of try and make up for it, did have to raise its own taxes. But then all that caused was companies wouldn't base themselves here; they would go to England instead. But ever since then, it's this whole the way Scottish people are raised, Scottish children are raised. Remember, say please and thank you. Don't hit girls. Never get into a stranger's car, and fuck the Tories. Right, that's the way Scottish kids are raised. So they're raised to, hate the Tories, fuck the right wing. Everything bad that has ever happened is the right wing's fault, and that is one of the main reasons why Scotland.
But it's funny though, because in a way, it's like what Britain imported to America back then. It's like this odd reversal where, as the empire crescents, America now imports its own sort of neoliberal version of quote unquote conservatism with Reagan and Thatcher in the 80s. And now the Tories had a very robust, albeit elitist, incredibly elitist, class-based, old Tory political system that was akin to a much older version of the right wing. But then with Thatcher importing that American style, ultra-capitalist, neoliberal, version of it, it seems that Scotland, they figured that just to fuck over mom and dad, which is mom and dad England, we're going to go into the most obnoxious counter signaling of that.
It was funny. There's actually a running meme about what you just said in Scotland, where it's a case of the SNP go, what did the Tories do? Well, we're going to do the opposite. Right? And it's they go out of their way to do that. And I think if Scotland doesn't get its independence, then see the way things are right now, they're going to continue for the next century, right? The SNP are going to remain in power, and they have the convenient excuse of any time they fuck up or any time they make a mistake, blame the Tories, blame Westminster. It's everyone's fault but ours, because that is what they do perpetually. That's what they do constantly. So I think, and what will happen is everyone's still going to be independence, and the SNP will still be in power. And 100 years from now, we will be in the same position. But if Scotland does get its independence, and Scotland does in fact become its own independent country, right? And not in the EU, right? Actual independent country, then what will happen is everything is going to fuck up, and the SNP won't have anyone to blame it on, because they're the ones fully, completely in charge now.
It's like Quebec here.
And what I hope's going to happen is everyone in Scotland is going to... Have you ever seen the spaceship meme? The two spacemen, where he's going wait, the SNP are shit? Always were. Right? That's what that is what I hope is going to happen, right? Eventually everyone realizes, wait, none of this was the Tories or Westminster. You were just shit all along, right? That is when I believe we will see some change.
Yeah, I think they should have let Quebec just go in the 90s. I think it would have been better for all of us. Certainly would have been better for Alberta. Holy shit.
Do you believe that there is a similar thing that's going to happen with the United States, where who's in charge right now, at a certain point, they're not going to have anybody to point the finger at, and then maybe some of the people who are on the fence right now will change their tune about what direction the country has to go?
I have no idea. It's just... presidents are just custodians for a short amount of time. The root problem is the government itself.
Yeah.
The president's just a face. Just a face on the front.
But do you think, not even so much the president, but do you think that now people are becoming a lot more hip, at least the Americans that you speak with are becoming a lot more hip to the dysfunction that's going on in the American government, so that there would have to be a very big overhaul, not getting rid of the system entirely, but just doing something that would result in a better system? Are a lot more people on top of that? Or would you say a lot of people are too black-pilled today and think that everything's just going to go to hell in the handbasket and we just have to take care of our families and that's it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are becoming black-pilled and a lot of people are just sort of accepting, the government's just a thing that is. It's just a thing that you have to have and all that. And it's the way it is, and that's always the way it's going to be. Like maybe next election we can vote in for a different guy who'll pass 3 bits of legislation that we like, along with the 30 other bits of legislation that make our lives even worse. Right, like and a lot of people have just accepted that that's the lot in life, whereas I think there should be like a massive revamp of the system. Like the Democratic Republic is not something that I'm a fan of, but one thing that I could possibly suggest is, like a parliamentary style system, but it's done with proportional representation. That way, at least you could have some political diversity in the government itself, so that at least each persuasion can in some way have a say. And if parties want to pass any type of legislation, then there has to be like an overwhelming consensus in favor of it, which I think with a proportional representation system, like the only way legislation is going to actually go through with that system is if it's actually good legislation, like good bit of legislation, like basically dragons have awoken and they're actually destroying cities and people, like every all in favor, the entire room, like, yeah, aye. Like, yeah, fair enough, good legislation. We want to raise everyone's taxes by 10%. Yeah, go fuck yourself.
and your own political development in terms of, because if I recall, I think you said when you were much younger, you were sort of like typical Scottish, like crusty inner kitty, I guess you could say.
I was a communist. I was a fucking communist.
Yeah. So did you actually read like doctrinaire Marxism, or were you sort of just, it was cool, it was counterculture, and how did you develop out of Marxism to the, well, I don't know, complete opposite? There's some people that think that libertarianism and Marxism share base assumptions about things, but that's, for the argument's sake, the sort of opposite of current, well, certainly the most Marxists on, the internet. But so what was your political development, and how did you sort of come to be the opposite of a doctrinaire Marxist?
I'm going to need to roll a cigarette for this story.
PTSD's kicking in.
And everybody subscribe, and keep subscribing right now, and patreon.com/breaktherules. Also, send in the super chat, so that towards the end we're going to say the super chat. So please keep needing the super chats.
If you want to suggest Mad Lads too for Count Dankula, I would say do a super chat.
I saw one in the chat just a second ago. Mike Tyson, that'd be a great Mad Lads.
His story's not over. He's getting back in the ring, and I'm interested to see that. Like but even though he's well past his prime, I was watching videos of him training. The man is a fucking titan. Like,
he's a beast, isn't he?
Doesn't matter how old he is, man. One punch from him would fucking take 20 years off your life. Like, honestly, like he was hitting the bag, and it sounded like gunshots. Man, like fucking hell. Tyson's he's one of the all-time greats.
And we had a super chat earlier from Tux Loves You, $2, about Sargon, that poor fish, so wasteful.
Oh, was that the time that woman threw fish at him?
Yeah, the kippers.
Oh, the kippers.
Oh, it was the way he said it. Pure went, the absolute cheek of it. Such an English thing to say.
Oh man. And Annie, who donated $5, says, favorite Mad Lad. I mean, other than the obvious Christopher Lee, love you, Daddy Dank.
Favorite Mad Lad. Wow. There's ones that I really enjoyed making, and there's ones that I really enjoyed like telling the story. So like I really enjoyed Mad Jack Churchill, like telling that story. But there's ones where I'm like, here is an interesting story that I want you to know. But then there was one where the story was just that fucking fun. It's fucking Ken Allen, the orangutan.
Ken Allen.
I kept laughing, and this is back when I was still editing my own videos, and I kept laughing, and I was like, you know what, I'm keeping that in. While I'm trying to film. I loved that video. That's just like proper feel-good story. I love that.
One of my favorites. I have to show you this. I just remembered, Lev. You forgot to remind me. But this is. Look, I'm just queuing it up on Discord here.
All right.
One of my favorite episodes was Killdozer, obviously. Because,
that's a great one.
Like, I think everyone can empathize with Niemeyer's story. I was motivated, actually. I have a live stream of me doing it. But here is a wood engraving I did. Not a woodcut, a wood engraving.
I was going to say, when you said, I watched the Marvin Niemeyer video and I felt motivated, I was like, uh-oh. Oh, no.
Oh, this is a wood engraving I did of Killdozer. I have to get my website up and running, but if you want, you could DM me on Twitter if you want one. Maybe I'll send you one, Dankula. But the one at the top's better, Lev. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, I immediately knew what that was. The sarcophagus. There it is. And all its fucking glory.
Oh, man.
Did he weld himself in? Am I remembering?
Yeah.
No,
he
didn't weld himself in. Just the sheer weight of the armor sarcophagus that he made. Like the only way that they were getting that off was with a crane.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
It was essentially just like a big cup. It wasn't attached to the bulldozer, but it was just, see, with the sheer weight of it, the only way to like get it off was to lift it with a crane.
By the way, also for those who did not see during the before the stream started, the trailer had an animation I did over here of Count Dankula with the various mad lads, and the mad lass over here, Elizabeth Bathory, who's being used as a springboard by that Japanese dude. What's his name? The Om Shinrikyo guy.
Oh, Shoko Asahara.
Yeah, Shoko Asahara. Yeah. And over here we have Christopher Lee turning into various forms. So he turned into Gandalf, he turned into Dracula, and when he turned to Dracula, then we have Vlad the Impaler going fanboyish when he sees the Dracula. Let's see. Here he is. Okay.
Just of the one of AJ like choking him out, like in the end of every Mad Lad. Oh man. But is there a Mad Lad that you wouldn't do, like you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole?
Oh, sweet Jesus. There's been a few. There is one Mad Lad. Now, there's one that I'm not doing, and it's not because of who he is. I do believe he has a very interesting story, and I want to tell it, but my main concern is accuracy, because a lot of stuff is either heavily embellished or told through a far left lens, and that is probably the most requested Mad Lad, Varg Vikernes from Burzum. Yeah. But the problem is,
director?
But the problem is a lot. But for example, the Wikipedia page, a lot of the sources are the Southern Poverty Law Center. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I'm not using that. I would like to talk to the man himself. I follow him on Twitter. However, I get a feeling he would just tell me fuck off and all that. And also, I do not want to get any of the video incorrect, because Varg fans are a different.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Would you ever, considering, since you have the particular getup on your Twitter profile picture, would you ever consider doing a Mad Lad of the Prophet Muhammad?
No.
He is pretty mad.
Maybe Ayatollah Khomeini. That would be something else.
Fuck no. Like, I like being alive. I like being alive, so fuck that.
A good one would be Kaczynski, obviously. Uncle Ted. That could be one.
He is in the list. He is in the list.
Okay, there you go.
But it's a case of, it's just whenever we get around to it, we've got a lot of pretty major ones. We've got a few Roman emperors in there as well, because a few of them were fucking batshit.
Oh yeah.
Wait, average centrist, you don't know about Varg?
Is he?
You're not a fan of black metal?
Oh, is this the guy that burnt down the churches and shit?
Yeah,
allegedly. He denies it. He says he denies it. But yeah.
Well, they asked him that before he became YouTube famous. I believe it was before The Light Takes Us, where he said, they didn't convict me of it, so I guess I didn't do them. The way he said.
Dude, one of the ones that I love as well. He's a hardcore pagan. He's very, he's very, very into the old ways, and obviously consider the whole the church thing. He's not a fan at all of Christians. But
Well, he thinks
basically, who was the guy the guy that went over to that island and done a IRL PUBG, the far right guy?
Anders Breivik.
Anders Breivik, right?
Yeah.
Well, Anders Breivik basically like wrote Varg a letter saying, I'm a big fan of your work, like from prison, obviously, going, I'm a big fan of your work, I think you're brilliant, blah, blah, blah. Fucking Varg wrote back to him going like that, don't ever contact me again, you disgusting Christian. And it's like, okay,
it's the Christian.
That was what your problem was.
Yes.
That was what your problem was with the guy.
Once he feels that
who
Christianity is a plot by Lev's people to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you know who Varg should team up with? He should team up with Jason Giorgiani, now that I think about it.
Oh, no, Lev. You had to fucking do that.
I don't...
No, see, Giorgiani and Varg...
Wait, hold on. Tell Count
anti-Christian...
Count Dankula who Giorgiani is, just so we're on...
If you haven't heard of him, he's a writer who was... Well, he got out of it. He was affiliated with, like, Spencer for a little bit. But he was a professor who writes on, what would you call it? Like, technology, panpsychism. What's the spectral thing? Telepathy or whatever.
Yeah, telepathy, spectral revolution.
He was a Heidegger scholar. Yeah, so
I'm really a fan of a lot of the theories that he talks about in relation to what happened in the past.
He's a Promethean. He's an Iranian fundamentalist. Not in the Islamic sense. He hates Islam. He believes that Zoroastrianism, they were telepaths, and we have to basically...
I don't think he said Zoroastrians are telepaths. His basic point, what I really dig about it, is when he talks about how the Hebrews were following like that pillar of smoke and pillar of fire, he attributes that to aliens, and I really dig that.
Yeah, he believes that we have to harness the power of telepathy and transhumanism before the aliens come and just fuck our shit up.
He sounds great to get high with.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
What am I thinking right now?
But it's funny because in the spectrum, though, when it comes to he's virulently anti-Christian. In fact, we planned to stream with him for months, and then he, because I am a Catholic, he immediately freaked out and welched on the stream. But when it comes to anti-Christian paganism, he's a Promethean, but he's like almost diametrically opposed to Varg because Varg is a primitivist. And Varg believes that the Culture Revolution. He believes that the agrarian revolution was a total mistake, that humanity, that was the ultimate fall of humanity, was agrarianism. And whereas Giorgiani believes in cosmopolitan transhumanism. So it's like they both are like, I wouldn't even call Giorgiani right-wing, but he's associated with right because he was associated with Richard Spencer back in 2016. But then he got out of it. But it's like in the spectrum between like anti-Christian pagans, you have like Giorgiani is like the transhuman futurism of Prometheus, and Varg is like the Odinist primitivist that believes that agriculture was a huge fucking mistake.
Which is why they'd make a great team. It would be kind of like the Odd Couple. But but what I love the most...
I don't know why I got an image of him like sitting on the couch with like these cyber arms and cyber eyes and shit like that.
I was just thinking of like...
Varg sitting next to him wearing like a deer pelt.
I was thinking of them like living in a little box flat together, like having little daytime hijinks.
It's like what we do in the shadows, but better.
But what I love the most about Giorgiani's theory, and like I'm with him up to a certain point, after which I am not with him, and I have my own theory about what happened here. But have you ever heard of Operation High Jump?
No.
Okay, so supposedly what happened after World War II is the Nazis fled to Antarctica, and they had not only a base there, but they got into the inner Earth. So supposedly there's an Agartha. Supposedly there is an Earth inside of the Earth. And this comes from an
Israeli intelligence agent person that said that this is what happened.
But we're not done yet. So all the UFOs that you've seen, Nazis. That's kind of like his basic thing. Because they got the...
Does it mean like the Tic Tacs?
Yeah.
Like the Tic Tacs you see in the ocean?
Yeah, it's Nazis.
They're Nazis.
And they have all been close to Antarctica. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they're really Agarthans. They're not from. They're like from the Middle Earth.
But here's the thing about the Agarthans. My theory is that just like Adam and Eve, the metaphorical Adam and Eve. By Adam and Eve, I think it's just like early humans. But just like Adam and Eve had to adjust to getting out of paradise, having like this consciousness of awareness of good and evil. Like, imagine if you're living in paradise and all of a sudden you have to be faced with this harsh reality. That's going to do a number on you. I imagine if this ended up happening, the Nazis had a similar thing, where now they're interacting with these high-level aliens who are like humans, but like taller, like the Nephilim, like the god men. They're interacting with them now, but now the Nazis have way more of a pressure because like the shell that kind of, I'm probably babbling, but I'm going to try to be as concise as possible. So, okay, imagine this. Imagine the life that we're living in right now, our consciousness has kind of a shell around it, which protects us from whatever's, unknown. And imagine like that shell is just ripped off, and it's like we're naked in the world.
The Nazis knew
the
truth, Lev. That's why.
No, but my point is that now they're going to have to undergo a lot of pain and suffering because they were prematurely ejected into this other world. But
they weren't fully red pilled. They OD'd on red pills.
Yeah, well, yeah,
they had to have time to adjust.
No, but it's
what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that if you prematurely get to that state, which is why I'm kind of against psychedelics, if you prematurely figure certain shit out, it's going to hurt a lot, and it's going to be psychologically painful, which is why I think things balance themselves out as far as like the horrible things the Nazis did. Now they and their descendants have to live with this kind of nakedness of not really being ready to inhabit the environment they're in right now. But anyway, to make a long story short, Giorgiani believes that the Nazis are living in Antarctica, are living under the earth, are living in Agartha. Not only that, but they also have time travel capability, so they actually went back in time. They went to Mars, and they founded the colonies on Mars. So, like, all the ancient alien stuff that we talk about, that's actually the Nazis.
Oh, shit. Okay, he has a PhD, by the way, from
inner Earth time traveling space Nazis.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds like a Wolfenstein game.
Yeah, Wolfenstein but based.
I'm not sure about that theory, if I'm being honest. It's certainly interesting. However, I haven't smoked any weed today. But if I had, I'd be right into this.
It sounds like a B movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It does. Have you ever seen Iron Sky?
No.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
Iron Sky's funny because basically, like the Nazi secret moon base on the dark
side. That yeah, I know what you're on about.
And they send an astronaut up, and the astronaut's black, and the Nazis on the moon start panicking because they think black people have taken over the Earth. Because it's a black astronaut, and what they do is they give him this stuff called the albanizer, and they basically make the black guy white with like blonde hair and blue eyes. And the black there's a scene where the black guy's like in the mirror of the bathroom looking at himself, and he's like, oh.
Like when Uncle Ruckus goes to White Heaven, that's kind of like...
Oh, by the way, Pennacchietti Man says, you guys forgot to mention Atlantis. Yes, so the Nazis also, according to Johnny, founded Atlantis. So there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
I had to throw that one in as well.
Oh, and he believes that Jesus was a psyop by the aliens. And someone showed him a film of the
Jesus
resurrection.
Jesus was a psyop.
Anyway, I believe I asked while we were Count Dankula about his political transition, but that's much more interesting. I don't know. We got
time travel in space Nazis is far more interesting. Yeah,
all right, back to the political transition.
So basically the way it started in high school, I've got something in my eye, by the way. I'm not high. I've just got something in my eye that I can't get. But
don't lie to us.
No, it's a heartbreaking tale. Back when I was cringe. But
we've all been there, mate.
But it started in high school, basically. One thing that doesn't happen in Scotland, and this is a story for another time. See how Scottish history about the clans, you would think we would learn about William Wallace in school and all the Scottish history. Yeah. We don't learn any of that in school.
Really?
That's my God.
Don't learn any of it.
That's
and the reason that's something that's
even Adam Smith for that, you don't learn about him either.
Don't learn about that in school.
Really? That's mad, that.
We learned about like coal miners. We learned about communist Russia, which was presented to me through the lens of rose-tinted glasses and a very eager teacher. It was basically like one of my teachers is one of the people that got me into communism. He was the main source. But basically, the whole Scottish thing is the reason that's still there is after the last Jacobite rebellion, the English wanted to do everything they could to get rid of Scottish culture. They wanted to Anglicize us. So the clan system or native language of Gaelic and all of that was banned. It was all outlawed. They wanted to de-savage us.
Yeah.
And make us more like prim and proper Englishmen. And that's why, even to this day, Scottish history, we don't get taught it in school. Wow. But basically, I learned about communism and everything, and I started asking questions, and the teacher was obviously like, oh, it's an absolutely amazing, brilliant system. The only reason it's never taken hold is because the greedy, evil capitalists like won't let it take hold because they'll lose all their money, etc., etc. So I was very involved in communism. I ended up joining the YCL, which is the Young Communist League. Yeah. Joined with a bunch of other like groups and stuff like that. I was doing a lot of activism, and basically I was still very staunchly communist. I even got the hammer and sickle tattooed on my chest and all that shit, which is the equivalent to getting a swastika tattooed on your bloody chest. But that's covered up now. I got it covered up with a Triskelion. But basically, like what ended up making me leave is when I first joined back in the old communist groups, it was all old school communists, and these were all guys in their 40s and 50s who got fucked over by Margaret Thatcher. They were all ship welders and oil workers and miners and stuff like that who all lost their jobs because
real
of
bloke tanky communism.
The guys that wore like bunnets, the little bunnet caps and everything. They did that's what they wore, and it was all
my granddad was a coal mine. Now I go down in the coal mine. and
it was basically like it was all the workers. That was the 100% focus back then. So Sargon was a classical liberal. You could call these people classical communists, right? They were the old
paleo communists.
Paleo communism. But basically, what ended up happening was as time went on, we went out, we handed out leaflets, and we did a little protest here and there and stuff like that, and then. After a while, younger people started joining, the ones with the funny coloured hair and the ambiguous gender. And, communism was starting to become this trendy thing. And one of the events that I was at that sort of made me leave was the EDL had been established by this point, and there was a Scottish offshoot called the SDL, and they were doing a protest in St. Square in Glasgow, and we turned up as a counter protest, but we were all sitting waving signs and shit like that. But the younger group turned up looking for a fight, and I can remember, and they all had like masks on and all this shit. And when one of the guys came up to me and went, "Oh, look what I've got," and he lifted his sleeve and he actually had like a spring baton that like the police use. He had one of them up his sleeve, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing like that, man? You're going to get us put in a list and everything." And basically, when we got back to our little like headquarters, that was like, I think it was at the top of Hope Street, but this was a long time ago. There ended up being a big argument because the younger ones were throwing things and trying to cause shit and start a fight, whereas the older ones were like, "No, we're just here to protest." And I remember this argument because you've got these guys who are in their 40s and 50s who are like hardcore communists, they've been communists for fucking decades, getting yelled at by a bunch of little fucking 17, 18-year-olds with like faces full of piercings.
Scallywags.
And I remember
I remember like Bernie Sanders and those black ladies. You remember?
Yeah, very much. But it was, and basically these kids are yelling at these guys, going, "You don't know what the fuck you're talking about." And shit. And it got to a point where I remember walking out of that meeting, and I said to the older guys, and I was considering leaving for a while, right? I ended up saying to the older guys, like, they're turning up to places with weapons. The police are going to be all over this. We're going to be on a list. We're going to get fucking agitpropped, infiltrated, all manners of shit, man. I can't take anything to do with this anymore, man. And we ended up, the guy who I was friends with, had a nice hug and everything like that, and then that was me. I left. Little did I know, in the modern day, we would have totally fucking gotten away with all of that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? In fact, the police would have just let it happen. But
especially against the EDL. Oh my god.
Yeah, definitely. But basically, after that, I was still communist when I left. But then, as the years went on, I sort of mentally checked out of politics, and I became a lot less radical as time went on. But I still had a lot of the same opinions, but because I had checked out of politics, my opinions weren't being challenged. It wasn't really an echo chamber thing, because echo chamber implies that other people that agree. I wasn't even hanging out with people that agreed with me. I just checked out, and I was still very left wing. And then I decided to make a video with a pug, and everyone knows what happened after that.
Rest is history.
That's when I was like, man,
I'm just going to run to the toilet.
And by the way, ZZ Man says totally feds. Do you think that may have been the case, or
what was that?
Totally feds. So ZZ Man thinks that those kids, the ones with the baton, that they were feds, that they were trying to.
I knew them and I'd hung out with them and stuff like that. They were not feds. They were just fucking stupid students. Stupid students from Glasgow Caledonian University, and that's So that was what ended up doing it. But then obviously,
I know some of your critics that some of them like to smear you with. They're like even that fucking video. The beginning is here's the what's that one that Mark Collette's
well, my favorite is
Tommy
from
Robinson,
the
British National Party. People are like, oh well, Count Dankula is the BNP and all this fucking crap.
No, my favorite headline is from the Daily Record, which says Nazi pug thug who taught girlfriend's pet to salute to stand the Scottish Parliament election. I like the little rhyme there. They tried to go for a rhyme.
Thug.
Oh yeah, the Daily Record don't like me very much because my second channel gets more hits than their whole fucking newspaper. So yeah, but
I want yes.
I was just going to say that the media serve a purpose because they're good for PR. They're really good at getting your name out there, because every time they write an article, I get a surge in subs.
Definitely.
There you go.
Yeah.
There is use for them after all. But I want to make sure that this is asked, because otherwise I would definitely regret it. When it comes to, Mencius Moldbug by any chance? Curtis Yarvin, Mencius Moldbug?
No.
Have you heard of Mencius? Okay, so he has this idea that, how does it say, Gio? That when Cthulhu swims, Cthulhu always swims left.
Swims leftward, yeah.
Yes. Can you, Gio, expand what exactly that means? And I'm curious if Count Dankula agrees with it or not.
Well, I don't want to butcher it, but it basically means that it's kind of like Conquest's, what was it, the second law? If a organization isn't explicitly conservative, it will eventually grow to become left-wing. Basically, it means that there are certain conditions, within modernity and modern society itself, that necessitates things moving a certain political direction. Woke capital is probably the best example of is now corporations that are policing, I wouldn't even say communist, but left-wing, radical liberal ideas, let's say, because there's just a certain way that this system will swim leftward for certain strategic reasons. I don't know if you've observed that, or what your opinion is on the whole woke capital thing is the best example of it.
I think they do it up to a certain point. Say for example, you'll get all these companies that will go oh yeah, we should be progressive and we need to help the downtrodden and the working class. And then their workers go, we want to form a union. And that's when they go, wait a fucking minute. So I believe they will if it benefits them. But then as soon as it doesn't, they nip that in the bud really quick.
Well, is there a particular kind of, let's say, worst case, great reset
Lev, what is that
scenario?
On the screen?
Don't worry about it. It's just Fart Slave 24.
What is that? Fart Slave?
Just Fart Slave 24.
What?
Fart Slave 24.
What the fuck?
Nothing to be concerned about.
Why the fuck would you put... Why?
It wasn't me. It was Tark.
What the fuck is that, man?
Oh, it's one of our listeners in our Discord putting up...
Oh, right. I thought...
Looks like a good Saturday night to me, you know what I mean?
Like, I'm glad you said it was one of your listeners posting. I mean, you were like, oh, that's one of our listeners. I was like, that's one of your listeners.
Oh, yeah. It could be him. You never know. By the way, for $5 on Patreon, you could get the right to post in the Discord chat on the live streams that gets thrown up. But of course, you can't obviously don't post any
yes
things that could get us banned off of YouTube, because everything shows up. Like the way Lev has it worked out, it shows up in OBS, it shows up on screen.
That's right, yes.
So thank God Fart Slave at least had his full getup there, his bondage, I guess that's where the tube goes and where the brap hog gets connected. I don't know. He's got a milking farm of brap hogs all in a row, like cattle, that he harvests farts from, feeds them only beans and garlic. The brap farm.
Wow. Oh my God!
I wonder what kind of a fart would a haggis cause. Is haggis a fart inducing?
I knew a haggis joke was gonna come up.
Haggis is fucking delicious. I love haggis. I eat haggis all the time.
No, it's probably it's a paleo dish, right?
That's kind of similar.
Yeah,
it's the heart, lungs, and liver of a sheep mixed with oats and spices, and then boiled in its own stomach, and it's lovely.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That actually does sound really healthy. So for all the people who are, saying
it's not healthy. It's really bad for you.
I was just going to ask.
Wait. Why is it bad? Why is it bad? Hold on.
Full of fat and grease.
That's good for you.
I was just going to ask.
That's good for you.
Not in high. Yeah, not in high amounts. Not in high amounts.
Not in that high amount. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think maybe Count Dang has to take the organ meat pill, the carnivore organ meat. Jordan Peterson talks. The organ meat.
Oh, well, the Hermit says this cod's deep fried. Yeah, that causes oxidation. That's why it's unhealthy. But do you think, Count Dankula, that things could go... I guess we kind of had this conversation in the beginning, but would you, other than, let's say, talking about Cthulhu swimming always left, other than, let's say, the corporate people not wanting unions to form, would you say that, other than that, everything is going to continue to go down this very leftist ideological route, at least in terms of the corporate structures? Where would you say again, without the unions, where would their limit be? At which point they would say, okay, everybody, we've done far enough.
Of leftism?
Yeah, exactly.
When it starts costing them money.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean by the unions, but that if without the money, where would the omega point be? Where would the point be that they will never cross?
The problem is the money is the key. The money is the key. Remember, Bernie Sanders for the longest time spoke about millionaires until he became a millionaire, and then it changed to billionaires.
True.
Right? The money is the key, right? No politician is going to, or corporation is going to try and invoke something that involves them personally paying more taxes. They're not going to do it.
True. I mean, remember that Stone Toss comic, the one with the two gay dudes in the burger?
Yeah.
Burgers?
So when it comes to something like that, the idea that's been rehashed a lot is there are some corporations out there who actually know that they may lose money, maybe in the short term, maybe in the long term.
Yeah.
They'll take a hit, but yet they are still going for a certain kind of ideology here. So then it's not exactly about the money.
It's not about the ideology. See, if it was about the ideology, then they would be running the same adverts in Russia and Saudi Arabia, but they're not. Have you seen the whole meme on Twitter? Whenever it's fucking
Al Jazeera,
whenever it's Pride Month,
Oh yeah.
Go on to you'll see Xbox America, Xbox UK, or Bethesda UK, Bethesda America, and all the Twitter accounts have got the LGBT flag, and then you've got the Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the Middle Eastern accounts, and they've all still got the original logo. It's not about the ideology.
Yeah,
it's about money. It's about money. If it was about the ideology, then they would be doing this exact same shit. There was a Smirnoff vodka, right? Smirnoff vodka launched LGBT vodka with the rainbow labels and like that, and they launched it absolutely everywhere except Russia.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Right. Smirnoff vodka, right? They wouldn't even launch it in Russia.
I think, though, to push back a little bit, and I think there certain certain leftist ideas, I think, are not just advantageous to profits, but also like the structure of sort of like the modern economy and modern society itself. I think, like, I mean, if people ask, like, why isn't there, I don't know, apart from like meme examples, like, I don't know, Chick-fil-A or whatever, why isn't there like LaBase trad cottagecore corporations that support right-wing causes? I think because
My Pillow.
yeah, My Pillow, there you go. Yeah, and he's getting destroyed. I think it's because those ideas aren't conducive to like an alpha consumer customer base that is like the quote unquote global citizen that just has like, you know, consume products, get excited for more products, like Reddit soy face. I think like if you had a customer base that has like a sort of stability or lives in like, I guess like Varg, like in a happy state of poverty with his, you know, QT autistic wife and children, I think like that is like not conducive to having an alpha consumer demographic the way that, you know, Reddit people consume Funko Pop or whatever.
Yeah, it hasn't got the trend factor either. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I can give you this example. I recently heard this on Tim Dillon's show where he was talking about this no jobs movement of these people who talk about basically becoming deadbeat dads. You know, like, we don't have to work anymore, let's not work. And Tim's point, which I 100% agree with, is that when you create a situation for a lot of people that they cannot earn their own income, then they become less independent. Yes. They become more dependent on having some centralized bureaucracy dictating to them Great Reset style what they can and cannot do. And I feel like in part, specifically with the West, a lot of things that have been done, sure, partly it's for the money, absolutely, but partly it's also to condition people to react a certain way, I think, to become more dependent and also to become more infantile. Like a lot of the, whether it's by accident or whether it's by intention, a lot of the media today is very Nick Jr.-ish, very Dora the Explorer-ish. You know what I mean? It's like it talks to people like they're a bunch of fucking babies. And
Nick
that
Jr.
kind of,
The governments and states absolutely want people to be less independent. They want poverty, financial strife, and socioeconomic problems. They want that because then people want an answer to it, and their answer is always, government, give me free shit.
Yeah.
Right, and then basically,
how do you get the votes?
Oh yeah, like that's one of the things as well. Like the people that are worth most to the government, as far as it goes in consolidating even more power, are the poor and impoverished people, because the government will go, "Hey, I could give you free shit. You just need to vote for me." Right, vote for me in the next election so we can stay in power. And what will happen is the poor people that will vote for them in the hope of like having a bit of a safety net and getting free shit. Oh, the government's like, oh shit, these poor people vote for us all the time when we promise them this stuff. So do you know what we should do? Let's make more poor people. And they do all the fucking
It's the
time.
same with the anti-racist stuff where like people are making bank on like the whole racism angle, but their whole incentive is to keep racism going. You know, like if racism ended tomorrow, then they wouldn't have a career. You know,
take me to the CEO of racism manufacturing.
Every good advocacy group should be advocating for its own demise. In other words, basically, advocating for a time where you are no longer needed, right? So, see, for example, like the gay marriage movement, right? Basically, see, once gay marriage was legalized everywhere, that's when they should have went, my job here is done, and rode off into the sunset. You've done it. Congratulations. Well done. Yeah. But then a lot of them were like, but my paycheck. Like, so it's like, okay, let's make another problem. Okay, this other problem we've found isn't really that bad, but what we can do is we can convince everyone that it's really, really bad. Right, and that's what they do. They try and perpetuate the problem. You know, it's like firefighters are telling everyone that there's fires absolutely everywhere, so we better give them more money, even though we look at our window and we don't see any fucking fires.
And especially like we talked about at the beginning, these are the worst qualified people of in a long while, it seems. Because again, if people like you were mentioning in the early 20th century in England, at least, or in Britain, at least, they were studying their Latin, they were doing all that stuff. Now that's gone. So I don't know if a system that does not have the backbone of having a high culture can survive. I think that they're going to wither away like, I don't know, just like some kind of a diseased organ.
They only wither away from the top down, really, because like at the time when they were having it in place, it was from the top down. They had a solidified thing of having like an intellectual thing. But then when it came out to the masses, they were like, well, we better get rid of it, really, because we can't, like, they're still trying to keep the same thing going. I don't know if I'm making the right point.
But it's also like the proletarianization of all culture. I mean, even rich people watch the same shows or consume the same products as everybody else. I mean, some could look at that as like, it really is like an obfuscation of their own power and wealth. Like the fact that Bill Gates dresses like a normal, like middle-class tech nerd schlub. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like...
But maybe there's a silver lining here, which I want to point out, that we have access to all the traditional modes of education we could ever want, all the books we could never want to read. Like, let's use this, right? Like, let's use this opportunity. Like Count Dankula, I think you're doing it as well. Like, you're doing it partly for entertainment purposes, but I also think that while you get a lot of entertainment, you also get wisdom out of that. And I think that's why you would actually be a really great politician. You know, even if you're not a politician type, you're the kind of person that I would want to force kicking and screaming to be in charge of something for a while, just so you can utilize the wisdom that you've accumulated and pass it. Yes.
Well, that's the thing. Is the first thing I would do in government is just start dissolving it from the inside. So we don't need that. We don't need this. We don't need that. Yes, of course you can paint your fucking fence. It's your fence. What do you mean you needed to ask the council?
Yeah. Oh, that shit used to
like
wind me up
from the
so
inside.
much. You know? Oh my god.
Like and shit like that fucking bothers me. Like, and that's the thing is like the one thing that worries me, right, is one thing that I have understood is that when I have power, everyone always goes, "Oh, I'm worried about what would happen if I had power." I'm very, very, very worried what would happen. Well, I've been a bouncer, so I know exactly what would happen.
Oh,
right.
Jesus.
And I went. I'm when I go in here, I'm not going to be the dickhead bouncer. I'm going to be the nice bouncer. I'm going to be the chill guy that tries to empathize and understand. That lasted about 3 days.
Yeah.
and then I was like, nah, fuck these people. And I could already see a guy in the queue with his friends, get like drunk as fuck, going and I'm like, not getting in. He's not getting in. Man, and that's the one thing is I'm worried about. You know, if congratulations, like you're now Prime Minister of Scotland, and then I look out my window and I see things, and I'm like, I don't like that.
It is funny though. I mean, how on your channel you've chronicled, I think, people who have had immense amounts of power, but also who have had sort of an ability to like be at the absolute edges and farthest reaches of humanity. And it's quite interesting. I mean,
well, one of the worst ones, and this video, I told it because I wanted to like teach a lesson with it, but it was a hard video and it was fucking Uday Hussein.
Yeah, I was gonna mention. Yeah. Oh god.
Listen, I say this like no memes or anything. Uday Hussein was more evil than Hitler. Evil than Hitler by far. Because see if you sat down with Hitler and told him you are an evil man, Hitler would like argue back with you. No, I'm not. I'm doing this for the good of my people and for the good of Germany and blah blah blah. He was the hero in his story. He thought he was a good guy. If you sat down with Uday Hussein and went, "You're an evil man," he would go, "Yeah."
Yeah, that's true.
Wait, okay. To counter a little bit,
the wedding thing was astonishing.
Yeah.
He would go. He would drive around looking.
Yeah,
but allegedly he did that about 30 times as well.
Oh
I estimated 30 times.
No, but I do have a little bit of counter, which is Uday was inbred in that Saddam married his cousin, right? So
yeah, but that takes generations, Lev. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, it just looked like this guy isn't all there. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but you know what I mean?
No,
like,
his brother turned out fine. I mean, Kusei, well, sorry, fine by comparison to Uday.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Kusei was still an evil fuck, but he wasn't anywhere near as bad as Uday. Uday took pleasure in what he did.
Yeah. It seems like he grew up in like a power bubble where he could just get away with anything, and he just indulged himself to the maximum kind of a thing.
He was the ruler's son.
He was the spoiled brat who basically his nannies, like his like child carers and stuff like that, let him do whatever the fuck he wanted and didn't discipline him because obviously they were terrified of what his father might do. So he grew up with like no inhibitions, no limits, no understanding of right and wrong. No, maybe that's not right, because he understood evil and he liked it.
Yeah.
Like, I think he understood what good and evil was, but he actually went out of his way. Like, because, like, for example, the wedding thing. Like, this guy was the son of Saddam Hussein. All he had to do was click his fingers, and he could have had 30 of Iraq's hottest women like lined up in front of him, and he could
all
have
the men
chose
of baddies.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he could have the most beautiful women in the world delivered to his bedroom in 5 minutes, but instead he went out driving with all his bodyguards and Secret Service fucking people and went looking for weddings.
Yeah. Look at Hermit in the chat. Hitler was a vegetarian. He loved animals. That's like the one song. If Hitler was a sensitive man, if he was alive today, he'd listen to The Cure, The Smiths, and Depeche Mode. No, someone guess the band. Guess the band. R.I.P. Seth Putnam.
Anal cunt. I actually got to see them live.
No fucking way, really?
No way.
Yeah, they played in the garage in Glasgow, and I actually got to see them live.
Oh, man,
that was mad.
He just came out and he goes like that. You might have heard this one, and he just does his wee like, and then he goes, "Did anybody smell burning?" And we were like, "Oh yeah!"
Oh no!
Here he comes. I lit your baby on fire. They were actually amazing. They were amazing live. They were brilliant.
Yeah, the energy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was one of the most brutal mosh pits I've ever seen in my life, man. It was brilliant.
Oh man. So I think we're going to be going to Super Chats right now. This was an amazing, hell of a conversation, Count Dankula. I really appreciate you coming in here with us.
That's no problem.
Do you mind if I just ask a quick question before we move on to
Go
Super
for
Chats?
it. Go for it.
Dankula, like if you, there's a mad lad that's on the lips of everybody at the minute, Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse. They've gone into deliberations today. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that situation.
Well, the reason that I wouldn't do Kyle Rittenhouse is the reason that I wouldn't do people like people say, "Oh, why don't you do Adolf Hitler?" or "Why don't you do like Charles Manson?" and all that. And the reason that I won't do that is because they're mainstream as fuck, and everyone already knows the story. Like everyone knows.
You're
like,
not comparing Kyle Rittenhouse to Charles Manson,
in a mad lad sense, but just in your own personal opinion. Like, what do you think's going to happen there? Like,
what do I think's going to happen? Oh Jesus. Well, you may have heard, but I don't exactly have the greatest of faith in the justice system.
Yeah,
like, rightly so. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a coin toss. Either in my mind, like I've not actually publicly stated my opinion on Kyle Rittenhouse, but everyone's probably guessed. It's fucking blatant self-defense.
Yeah,
blatant 100%. Fucking self-defense. Yeah, 100%. And he should be acquitted on all charges. But the problem is, I think he may get offered up for a sacrifice, and I think after the trial, just pay attention in case any of the jury members, just magically win the lottery.
Get suicided.
There was another case. There was another case exactly like this. There's this thread by the guy who is the head editor of, is it American Greatness? He was interviewed by our friend Oren McIntyre. He had this thread that blew up on Twitter about this Jake Gardner guy who shot a BLM member in self-defense, and he was put through the ringer. His career and his family was destroyed, and he ended up anheroing because of it. Yeah, and that I think unfortunately the black pill is that if it were to repeat in the Rittenhouse case, I mean, it would be terrible. But another question before we go to Super Chats, now that I'm on my tip of my tongue, another person who is on the tip of everyone's tongue, what was it like doing one of the more honest, I would say the most honest and open interviews with Christine Chan? What was that experience like?
It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it, and it's because I have been aware of Chris Chan since
forever.
since shortly after he first posted that video back when the comics shit first started, when people started posting Sonichu onto like 4chan, and then people were making fun of it, and then Chris Chan made his like first video, like where he's standing outside his house and reading from his little sheet of paper, this fresh-faced young boy with the whole world at his fingertips and his whole life ahead of him, and like I've been aware of him since shortly after then, and I tuned in and out of the whole story, and I was like sort of mostly aware of a lot of the stuff that happened to him. But at that point when I was talking to him, there was a lot of horrendous shit happening in his life through trolls and stuff like that. Like it got that bad that 4chan and Kiwi farms were like, right, this is enough. This is enough. And I wanted to, I was quite excited. I was expecting like, holy shit, I'm talking to Chris Chan. Holy fucking shit. But Josh Moon was actually in the call with me, but he was muted.
Wow. No,
and but the reason he was there is he didn't know me well back then, and I think he thought that I might try and troll. So, and Josh did say, if you start fucking about or like making fun of Chris, I'm cutting the call. And I was like, that's completely fair. That's completely fair. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Well, apparently Null is a Judas, according to the latest Chris Chan letter, but the jailhouse letter.
Hasn't there been a few of those?
There's been
there's been a few. There's been a few since then. There's been a few letters since then. That are, pretty interesting. But it was exciting, and a lot of people have asked, Chris Chan Mad Lad when? Chris Chan Mad Lad when? And I'm
like, you can't do it. You can't.
Yeah, and I was at a point where I'm like, I want Chris Chan. Like the reason I didn't do it, and even back then, like I wanted to talk to Chris Chan, but I wanted to have an honest, down to earth, like proper like interview. Like talking about like his I don't fucking know anymore, like feelings and shit like that, and like I wanted to do that, and I just wanted Chris Chan to just fade away. Like the fact that so many people but the vast majority of the internet reached a consensus of like, right, this has gone too far. Like we need to just leave Chris Chan alone, and I was like, right, that's good. I'm just going to let Chris Chan fade away, and Mostly Chris Chan did fade away, and then I fucking checked my computer to a DM from one of my friends saying Chris Chan just fucked his mum, and I went, no, he didn't. That can't be real. And then I logged onto Twitter and just went,
there you go. Yeah. Well, on BTR, we've had a number of streams going into like the deep lore, particularly around this case. There's a bunch of interesting facts about this janky girl. Yeah. Not to say it absolves Chris of any guilt, but
with the horrible torturing and all that. And again, not only this negative element of the janky girl, but also who her parents are. Working in intelligence, working in.
Yeah. If you look at the archive from a month or so ago on BTR, we have an excellent stream with our friend. Well, actually, with Turkey Tom was on that one.
Yeah.
And our friend Saturnalia Sundown, where he goes deep dive into the past of Janky, and then after this, Turkey Tom made a video on her as well. Isabel Janky's a Fed. Yes, I think it was baby's first Fed operation. That was the consensus. But no, a lot of people said that you did the interview with more empathy than anyone else, because there was that other interview prior to yours where the guy was just fucking trolling Chris for an hour. It wasn't really constructive by any means.
That's like kicking when you're down. You know what I mean? Like it's not a. It's
I
not
mean,
a good
to
thing.
be fair, Chris has done a lot of horrendous shit in her life. I mean, it's
Yeah, but there is an
we debated about this before.
They do have like pretty severe, well, not severe to the point where they're like an invalid, but like
I would say severe till.
Yeah, that was my main reason I did that. I was talking. Yeah, okay, Chris has done some shady, shitty, sketchy things like in their past, but at the end of the day, I was talking to someone who is severely mentally ill.
Yeah,
like severely to the point of like absolute delusions. Right, so that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna approach this like I'm not gonna approach this as Count Dankula. I'm gonna approach this as a fucking human being.
Yeah.
Right, and it's sort of like a part of me is like, yeah, okay, you've done some shit stuff, but also at the end of the day, like you're not all there.
But some people would say, like, to play devil's advocate, some people would say that you were like just like approaching the subject matter itself as quote unquote exploitation. Like what is the a lot of bread tubers use this. I think even Vaush used this against Kraut, believe it or not. Or what do they say? I don't believe you're in a mental state to be consenting to this interview. Like, that type of bullshit, the psychobabble.
Condescending idiocy, isn't it?
Yeah, but would you say that you are, just by virtue of interviewing someone who is deeply mentally has a lot of mental health issues, that you were quote unquote exploiting the legacy of CWC? Or do you think that it's providing a service to engage in a more humanly fashion than a bunch of internet trolls and A-logs?
Well, the thing is, I think the interview achieved what I wanted it to do, because a lot of people pitied Christian.
Yeah.
A lot of people, because I want to go through like some of the horrendous shit that you've been through, but also I wanted to ask about Quickville and Sonitude and all that universe and everything. I wanted to ask all of that as well. But I just wanted people to get like a sort of a better idea. And like a lot of people after it, like basically after it, some people did make like a few memes about the interview and stuff like that, but nobody went after Chris. Like a lot of people were going like, Jesus Christ, can you believe they said that and everything? But a lot of people were a lot more human about it, compared to what would have happened around like 2011, 2012.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, so I feel like the interview was a good one. I think it did very well. And then obviously Christian fucked his mother and undone all of my hard work. but yeah.
What's it people?
We're trying so hard, Chris. We're trying.
Yeah, there's no coming back from that. There's no
I believe canceled people, when you give a platform to people, like I think it's just a fucking chicken shit move to like take content down. Like, for example, our good friend Versaloon, who has a YouTube channel, he interviewed a certain person from the Koliak movement that was exposed for misdeeds. And it's like, I agree, like, keep the shit up, because even if you denounce a person for doing something, I think, like, just be like, oh, we're not going to platform. That's bullshit. Because at the time,
and it makes it much more of a forbidden fruit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There was a few streams of mine that I did actually take down, and it was my 2 streams that I did with Amos Yee.
Oh fuck!
And the reason that I did it is because
that's different. Yeah.
I was ripping Amos apart, and I was laughing at him, and I was trolling him, because I feel like the arguments he was making, that is all they deserved. And it's one of the first times in a debate that he's went, I have a study, and I went, fuck your study. How about that?
I actually
and it worked. It actually worked.
Yeah.
I have something to ask you now.
What do you mean study? Like the room where you read books? That kind of study?
Yeah, something like that. But no, it was basically.
Who is that guy from Salon?
He had a study that apparently said that having sex with children is good, actually.
Oh, that kind of study.
Yeah,
Real Kinsey infantile sexuality stuff.
Yeah, but basically...
Is it called Lolita by any chance?
No, it's not.
I hate to say it, but I think
your boy Nabokov. But basically, because he was talking about like literally like fucking babies and shit like that, that's when I went, I can't keep this stream up, like, because all it's going to take is some dickhead that doesn't like me going back and finding this stream, and then they report it, and then my channel gets a strike.
Yeah,
because even though, like, if you're the person that owns the channel and you're debating against the shit, like, you'll still get a strike, because that's
just
how YouTube operates.
The only time I deeply regret, and for people who don't know, I don't have as much power over scheduling as Lev does, for obvious reasons, because he schedules everything. Even though I suggest guests, and sometimes he listens to me, sometimes he doesn't. But the only thing I deeply regret is it was a fucking disaster of a stream. It was one of the only times I fed posted so fucking hard. But I don't regret fed posting. We had a stream with Mr. Girl. And
I saw that.
And so that was the only thing I regret. I would not do that stream. But when it comes to Amos Yee, maybe it's just my based tradcath mind talking. I said on Twitter, I said that perhaps that is like the ultimate consequence of like total libertine, like fuck you mom and dad, like early 2000s YouTube fedora tipping. I don't know. But what is your opinion on the god of the fedora tippers himself? What is your opinion on the current incarnation of TJ Kirk, the amazing atheist? I know you two have had a bit of a falling out, I guess you could say, but I don't know.
I don't know. Like me and him have never really spoke. Like we've interacted on Twitter in the past, and yeah, he has sort of become your standard. Yeah, I know I'm a leftist, but I'm like cool. Like he has sort of done that. But the one thing that I will say about him, right, is out of all the controversies that have ever happened on YouTube, he handled his like a fucking champion. He handled his perfectly. For anyone that doesn't know, a few videos surfaced way back in the day, of TJ Kirk on webcam pouring hot oil over his genitals and all over his arse,
and a banana,
and then shoving a banana up his arse. Right now, for anyone else, for any other YouTuber, like that's it. It's over, man. Like, but he made a video, right, and instead of doing his sorry, like fucking like the fucking makeup YouTubers do, or any of this, I'm going to take this time to reflect and grow as a person. I can be better, and I'll try to be better. He didn't do fucking any of that shit. He walked on in front of the camera and went, "Yeah, I do weird shit. Is anyone really surprised?" And then
just look at him, my God.
And then he peeled a banana, took a bite out of it, and walked off the screen. Just basically absolutely unapologetic, and he just fucking owned it. And I was like, that is how you deal with controversy.
Oh, like, man.
And after he had nothing on him, right? He was like, yeah, I know the videos are out there. I don't care.
I got to say, I've disliked him since around, I would say, 2007. Very long time. But I will say that was a Chad move, though. The way he handled the banana oil thing.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So before moving on to Super Chats, one final question from me. Who would you say, or maybe just like a couple of people, who would you say are the best YouTubers right now as far as people who you feel a close connection to that you would recommend people checking out?
Oh, God, they're all Lord of the Rings. They're all... Hold on, I'll check. I'll glance into my YouTube list, right? Because I don't want to just say like a shit ton of fucking. Like, hold on. Mine's aren't even like politics related. Like, say for example, Alien Theory. He talks a lot. Yeah, he talks a lot about lore of the Alien universe. Fucking mine's are all nerdy stuff like Men of the West, Nerd of the Rings. So Lord of the Rings shit that I fucking watch, man. In Deep Geek, he's good as well. He does Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. Nice. Melon Pan, just because he's an absolute degenerate, but a funny one. Might want to check his hard drives though.
Oh God.
Who else? Shad Diversity. I love Shad. I play Mountain Blade with him. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Like all of mine are like fucking geeky shit. That's what I watch. I mean, Justin Wang's brilliant as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they thought 32 because he thought 32 is what I would like to be.
How do you spell that? 32?
It's basically thought with a Y at the end and then the number 2. Thought 32 is basically what I want to be, where basically I just post shit tons of the type of videos I'm making, but they hit the algorithm. and then there's Tom Scott, who keeps stealing my fucking ideas. I'm in Hull. I'm here on the Glasgow overnight train.
You don't want to be on that train, mate.
Oh, fuck, I know. I fucking know, man. Yeah.
And now we are here, Super Chat. So we have Matthew Hammond, $4.99. Is it not authoritarianism versus libertarianism instead of left versus right? There is not much difference between the German Workers' Party and commies.
I think that's far too binary.
Yeah.
Far too binary because a lot of the people that are against the left are conservatives, and some of them are pretty hardcore. And like there is, like obviously with conservatism, there is an element of authoritarianism in there. So I think that distinction is far too binary, and it doesn't really fit.
By the way, I definitely need to check out what Tark posted here. What is this? These two pups. Okay, next super chat.
God. Oh my God.
Oh, by the way,
I don't know. I just don't want it to be like descending into like Dinesh D'Souza, like, you know, they're both the same. Like, I don't know. That's kind of.
By the way, these puppies reminded me to show off over here, Messy
God,
Tails.
Not again, Lev. Not again.
This is my fertile textile background. And also speaking of that...
Fertile, get it?
Well, anyway, that's made me change my mind on libertarianism.
There you go.
Maybe we do need a powerful leader to exterminate that shit. That fucking degeneracy.
I hope you get the textile part as well, because it's fertile, but it's a tile. Tex as in Texas, because he has the cowboy hat now.
It's bathroom wall tiles, but it's fur tile, so it's like a furry tile.
Yeah, but it's also a textile.
Can you imagine that hung up in a bathroom where Messy Tails has done his worst deeds? So.
Well, I imagine that this is actually the bathroom of this room.
Oh God! Oh, even Count Dankula knows about Lucas. Absolute mad lads, Lucas Space Guy.
Everyone. Oh God, I don't know if I want to do that.
Subplot: Margot and Radek.
Yeah. Oh, and also here, while we're on the subject, this is a recent NFT that I did on Super Rare. So it's called Werewolf, WEAR, and it's got these two wolf pups, and I guess people say they're being sacrificed. I don't know, make of this what you will, but this is like a wolf that's talking to these two hands over here, and he's like getting it on with his left hand, apparently, and these evil-looking, this guy kind of evil-looking, this Hill character here, and this one's just kind of untrustworthy. But anyway, this is Werewolf. I make NFTs on Super Rare, superrare.com/Lev Polyakov. Go there, hashtag invest in Lev. I'm going to be making way more NFTs coming up. But now on to the next.
Can I just say, I never thought about it before, but looking at it now, it's got a bit of a yin and yang thing going on with it.
Oh yeah, that's
and like the devil's on the shoulder kind of a thing.
It's from the whole inside of you are two wolves thing. So anyway, over here. Anyway, we have over here ABC123. Oh, no, before that. Anya, we already answered. Favorite Mad Lad. Tux loves you. $5. I can't sneed. So Tux apparently...
I can't sneed.
Well, Tux apparently was able to sneed very well with the images that he sent, so thank you very much for that, Tux. Tux also said, that poor fish, so wasteful. We already did that. Next, ABC. $5. Geo, I DM'd you on Instagram. Also, Lev, I sent the calf raises. Also, Geo, what is your favorite color combination? Also, base stream is based. Well, thank you very much for that, ABC.
I don't know. I know black is not a color. I don't know my favorite combination. I don't know.
Well, I gotta ask this to Count Dankula as well. Favorite color or color combination?
I like black and gold.
There you go.
Championship colors in the UFC. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
everywhere. Yeah.
It's also the color of the Gold Ranger for those who have seen Power Rangers Zeo back in the day with the pyramid.
Ranger Zeo.
Oh my God, Lev! What the fuck?
I know they probably didn't have this in.
Oh my God! You just took me back to being 12 years old.
I don't know, Kandekio. They didn't have Power Rangers in Britain, did they?
Yes, they did. Yeah,
they did?
I had all the toys when I was a child. Yeah,
including
I even had the big turtle one that was literally called Titanus.
Titanus.
No, that wasn't Turtle. Turtle was called Tor. Titanus, it was that long-necked dinosaur, a Brachiosaurus.
What was the one I had? Because it opened and you could put one of the mechs inside it, and it was like a big turtle.
Yeah, that was Tor, the Carrier Zord.
Was it? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what the fuck? Lev showing his autism again.
Well, here, hold on.
Sorry, never before on a stream have I been corrected on my Power Rangers lore.
Yeah, this is
oh,
first.
Shit.
This is a first.
This
only
is
here on BTR.
Yeah, and this is actually not from the original Power Rangers. This is from the second season, or in the Japanese, it was known as, let's see, not Zyuranger, then it was, okay, I don't remember the name of it.
Oh my God, stop, Lev, stop.
Here's what it looked like. Here.
Stop.
You could put the Zords on top of it.
He knows the exact season, the exact episode.
And this is what it looked like.
They let kids play with that.
All right, moving on.
Don't get him started on Sonic or Tim Minera.
I have, by the way,
I have like another hour if that
I have the big pyramid, by the way. That was from Zeo. I have the big Pyramidas. That was the one the Gold Ranger was in. I have the original Japanese one. Anyway, we're gonna finish this. Here we go. War Game 341, $5. All hail BTR and Dankula. Would you ever consider a Mad Lad on a video game company running with scissors or the Postal franchise?
That probably would be a good video, not to do as a Mad Lad, but to do with a focus around freedom of speech, because I know that the Postal games have came under heavy fire in the past for their content.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And ABC says $2. Eat the carbs. Don't worry, Mom. I'll eat the carbs. Anyway, $5 final super chat of the day. Zaboomafoo. $5. Free Kyle. There we are.
There we go.
So
Zaboomafoo, Lev. Did you grow up as Zaboomafoo?
No, I don't know what that is.
Here in Canada, it's like they had a lemur, and it was like a nature show for kids. It was two brothers, like they were the co-hosts, and the Zaboomafoo was this lemur that they had. But they would have like animations of him too. It was a good show. It was nice.
Yeah, it's probably.
I know
better
I'm dating myself. It's like Canadian millennial, right?
It's probably better than Caillou. I don't know. Caillou kind of freaks me
Caillou,
out.
yeah, I didn't
yeah.
like Caillou.
Especially after the whole, you know what I'm talking about. That whole scene when the bath. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that right now. Those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. Anyway, this is the end of the show. I really appreciate everybody watching once again. We have to keep growing. BTR, we are under a lot of pressure when it comes to algorithms, yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. So,
and what's their future stream, Lev, coming up?
Yes, every subscription helps. Our future stream, we are going to have Glink on. So for those who do not know about Glink, he did this, he's an amazing documentarian filmmaker. He did this documentary about California recently, which I highly recommend everybody check out. And once you guys, once this stream finishes, you're going to have a referral link to go to our stream. So be sure to add in the, set the reminder, all that good stuff.
And next week, Lev?
Next week, hold on a minute. Let me see here. Let me first get into BTR chat and put that link in. But next week, all right, hold on 1 second. Here we go. BTR chat. Okay, this is the Glink stream. Then we are going to have for next week, we are definitely going to have confirmed Mary Harrington coming on.
Ooh,
and we are also going to have on Wednesday, a Wednesday stream, the Turkey Tom Thanksgiving Spectacular. So
that'll be funny.
I'm gonna bring my stuff to my. So Dankula, I have this turkey, this inflatable turkey, which I named Tom Turkey. You know, as opposed to Turkey Tom. And Tom Turkey, it's an inflatable turkey for the. Thank you, Gio. For the purpose of like when you hunt turkeys, you put the inflatable turkey down. Yeah. No, well, it's for the males, so that the male sees that another male is in their vicinity and they get really angry. There's even one you can get where two inflatable turkeys are having sex. So the male turkeys get really upset because of that. And it gets the prize turkeys for your hunting. So anyway, I think this is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. Patreon.com/breaktherules. Once again, become a patron. You're going to get a lot of great things. And the Dragon Sticks Magnet, unfortunately, you guys are not going to see it on the screen until I show you. But here, full screen, $50 tier is going to get you pretty much what you see over here. $20 tier is going to give you a smaller wooden version of it. And for you guys over here, you do not see it, and now you will see it. So you see it in the gallery view, right? This dragon over here.
There you go.
Yeah, so that is what you can get. When you become a $5 patron, you are going to get access to our secret Discord areas, exclusive Patreon-only streams. They're coming. Don't think they're not coming. They're coming. And you are also going to get the MP3s of the episodes before they come out. Once again, like Gio said, you get the ability to post images. And $30 is going to get you a beautiful sketch from the great Giovanni Pennacchietti.
Block print.
Oh, yeah.
From the Vathio Wen No GF series. It's 1 of 5. I'll send you one at random. But, yeah. They're mostly just Wojaks, but they're pretty cool.
They are very, very beautiful. See, I'm just trying to find it. 1 second here. Here we go. Patreon print. This is what it looks like. Gio is doing it. He is making it happen.
We can't see it, but you can.
Yeah, you can. It's a very, very beautiful process there. So anyway, guys, that's it. Count Dankula, is there any other thing that you would be interested in plugging? I'm going to put your Twitter in here, YouTube, anything else? Any parting words?
Just my YouTube. I would advise don't go on my Twitter. But if you do, I apologize in advance.
It's a great Twitter. It's a fantastic Twitter.
Oh man, it was funny the other
Are you
day.
sure about that?
I'm very sure. Yeah.
The other day, the guy in the shop, that was hilarious. You were out shopping with your wife and your kid, and he's like, I almost punched him in the face.
He was like, I just wanted to beat fuck out of him and all that random night. And obviously I went back and I had an idea of who it was because I remember a guy in there that had the same hairstyle as the Twitter avatar. Right? Same color and everything. And I was like, yeah, and that guy was looking at me a lot. And like the problem was like, he says I fucked up the displays. I didn't. We went and it's children's toys. So children's toys come in like fucking huge boxes. We just wanted to make sure that they had it. So we went and looked at the aisle and went, oh, cool. There it is there. We'll come back and get it because I'm not carrying that around with me all day. We'll get it on our way back. And I left the shop and that's when he's like, you fucked up my display. I almost beat him up. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I didn't even fucking touch the display. Right, so shut the fuck up. And I was like, and I went, plus it's about to get real awkward because I have to come back.
Yeah, that was the best.
And I came into the shop, right, and he was standing with all these little friends and he kept looking at me. And while my wife is like trying to get the box down, I'm sitting like staring at the guy. Like that man going, turn around, fucking turn around, you little bitch. And he turned around and glanced at me and then quickly looked away. And I'm like, fucking look at me. Look at me, you little bitch. You know what, man? And then I'm like that to my wife, like really loudly. Careful you don't mess up the display, darling. But then he went and spoke to a manager and then he got put on the checkouts. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if he went, I need to get off the floor. But then we had to go to the checkouts anyway. And I was sitting there, I'm in the line, like waiting, going, please let it be him. Let it be fucking him, like that. But another woman went, first down here. And I was like, fuck. Man.
That would have been awkward.
But the entire time I'm like putting the things on like the checkout for the women to scan them. The whole time I'm like looking at him, and he's just giving me like little glances like now and again, and I'm just like, yeah, you little fucking bitch. You know what, man? However, I'm also not going to like start a fight in the middle of a toy shop in front of all the children. Right?
In front of your wife and child, you're just going to start a fight.
Like it's fucking Jingle All the Way.
Daddy, Daddy, why is that very large man beating that much smaller man?
It was a Twitter argument. I ratioed him on Twitter.
He talks shit on Twitter. Go on.
A bit of fun.
Block me in real life.
Block this. What?
Block these punches.
Oh.
Guys, follow Gio on Twitter, twitter.com/giantgio, and also
my own YouTube channel,
youtube.com/giantartproductions. And of course, follow Average Centrist on Twitter. Listen, guys, Average Centrist needs some Twitter followers, all right? You have how many? It's not good.
Like 60 or 70 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I'm just a rage poster. I don't say anything that interesting other than that I just rage at people.
You lie. Anyway, Centrist Average. That is Average Centrist Twitter. Reverse the two. So follow him. I mean, it's a nice number, 69 over here. We all love 69. But get the number up. Get the number up right now. And lastly, and not leastly, LevPo on Twitter. That is my Twitter, so go there. It's very short. I write a lot about my dreams. I post artwork, NFTs, all that good stuff. So here we go. Twitter.com/LevPo. And hey, watch some of my animations. YouTube.com/Lev Polyakov. I'm going to be doing some Lev streams soon as I get the new desk. Right now, this is still a work in progress, so there we go. LevPo. Anyway, guys, thank you once again so much for watching this, and Count Dankula, thank you so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate
Especially for
you
staying
taking the
for
time.
so long as well.
No, that's no problem at all. I had fun. It was a good laugh. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And
Thank
with
you.
that, take care, everybody. Good night. Mwah.
God bless.